If you've ever been grateful for Friday, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's PreMarket Playbook. Indeed, it is Friday, so you know what that means around these parts. Friday, fun day, and that is exactly what we're going to do here today. We got some news to break down. Netflix getting absolutely canceled. At least the stock price is. We've got Mark Putrino today. We've got Anne-Marie today. So if you want to take a look at some options, we'll be able to do that at the end of the show. And we're going to go through the news. We're going to get some trading done here today. So happy Friday to everyone out there. Benzinga's pre-market playbook, the Friday edition for July 17th, 2026 begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Thursday. For those of you affected by the Canadian wildfire smoke, it's better here in Chicago, and I hope it's better wherever you are at. Hopefully, we are past the worst of that, but wow. Crazy stuff. Good to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. We got one more New York session until we can enjoy our summer weekend here. Crispy Biscuit is first here this morning. Good morning, Crispy Biscuit. It's great to see you. As always, boss, hopefully you're doing well. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Southern Couple, good morning. Welcome back. Happy weekend. Not yet, but we will. We will take happy weekends because it's coming. It's coming. We're almost at mice down, drinks up time. Zach, good morning. And good morning to the Benzie gang. Pot G, good afternoon. It's great to see you as always, boss. Robert, good morning. Brett, Guten Morgen. Good morning, Brett. It's always good to see you. Derek, good morning. Welcome back. Yes, that girl. Good morning and happy Friday. And kissy faces. Bang. That's how you start off a Friday right there. Let's get it. Good to see you. Yes, that girl. Liam, good morning. Welcome back. Hopefully we will see some bounce in today's market. So Liam, that is exactly what I am going to be looking for here, especially when it comes to the SPY 0 DTE calls. It is worth noting that the SPY did trade down earlier in the pre-market today, down to about 742 and change, and then bounce from there up to 745. So this is notable because if we pull out of the open here, which is absolutely a possibility given the red arrows and the weakness that we're seeing across the board, if we pull out of the open here, that actually gives us a level to watch. Do we hold that pre-market low? Do we reverse anywhere before that, like 744 or 743? I'll be looking for that too. No guarantees that we're going to bounce, but definitely something that we're going to keep on the back burner there. Great minds think alike, it seems. Whisk, good morning. Welcome back. It's great to see you. Who am I missing here? That's Brett and Zach. Producer, it's always good to see you. Thanks for all that you do, boss. Billy, our human chat scanner, is locked in and is already printing alerts. We appreciate you, Billy, doing the Lord's work out here. Happy Friday. Tom, good morning. From smoky orange fireplace smelling New York. So is it any better? I guess that's my question. Is it any better for you from yesterday? Is the delta any better? As long as we're moving in the right direction, I think we're going to be all right. Let's see who else we have. TGIF, yes. Barb, good morning, welcome back. Philip, good morning, welcome. Ed, good morning and welcome back. Linda, good morning and welcome back. Graf, it's always great to see you. Welcome back. Delvin, good morning. G-Cord, good morning. Tyler, good morning. Gen Z Pool Guy, good morning. Captain Cloudy, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. Matthew, good morning. Man, this smoke in the Chicago area is brutal, but it's better today, Matthew, isn't it? I mean, I went out yesterday just to go to the grocery store to grab a couple of things, and I was like, man, I like feel it in my nose, and it's like my eyes burn. Like it was crazy yesterday. I went out this morning, can't smell it as much. I don't seem to have as an immediate of a reaction, but the air quality is still not good. Not good. Hopefully, I guess the warning is lifted tomorrow morning or overnight, but we'll see how it is this afternoon. Kelly, good morning. Welcome back. We got together. Good morning. It's great to see you again. Maverick, likewise, good morning and welcome back. Alvin, good morning and welcome back. Richard and Crankbait, good morning. Welcome back. Drew, good morning, saying, I hope there is a bounce. Looks like a bloodbath. Indeed, we've seen this before. The other thing here is with some of these stocks, if we continue to sell off, the down market should make it easier to find relative strength to the upside. So again, that's just me being glass half full as I normally am and totally live my life, but we'll be watching for a bounce in SPY. We've seen this before. We've come into a whole bunch of red arrows, bad headlines. Oh my God, and then the SPY bounces. So that's one of the things we're going to be watching for. Yassine, good morning. Welcome back. TME or T Mensgate, good morning. Welcome back. Eric, it's always good to see you. Welcome back. Yassine says, made a lot of money on memory, now lost all of my money on memory. What to do? Take gains. Scale in, scale out. When you get big moves, be sure to take them. Stops at break even so that you actually don't go into the red. I know it's frustrating. Stock moves up, looks like you got a gain, comes back in, stops you out near even, goes lower. You feel good for a couple of days, then it rips higher, and you're like, no. Been there. That's the market. It's hard. Medot, good morning. Welcome back. Robot to Trade, good morning. Welcome back. Corey, always good to see you, boss. Welcome back. Just hit the like for now and got the like for Ryan's new haircut. I got that on Tuesday, but thank you, Yassine. I appreciate it. Benzinga, probably the only voting that isn't rigged by China, Russia. Yeah, we go directly to you. And I got to say, I just want to take this. I know you're talking about something else, but as far as voting goes here, let me just thank everybody for participating in our polls. We've got some really bright and creative writers that work here. And when we get ideas like that, the more participation we get in those polls, the better it's going to be. Just want to thank everybody for doing that yesterday. We're going to keep trying to bring you some of those really good ones. And don't forget, your responses get turned into an article. Captain Cloudy, good morning. Welcome back. Durkis, good morning. Welcome back. Richard, good morning. Welcome back. Rooster, it's always good to see you. Keep spreading that love, boss. Creation, good morning. Welcome back. Who am I missing here? Jeff, good morning. Welcome back. And MT Finn, good morning. Bust that sunshine out. Cynthia, good morning and welcome back. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, Freaky Friday in the pre-market here today as there is red across the board. S&P futures down 0.87%. The Dow futures down 0.57%. And the Nasdaq leading the way lower at minus 1.85%. So red arrows across the board. We'll see if we end up getting a bounce. Now, let's take a look at some cues from last session and set the stage for where we're at here today. We'll try and make some sense of it. Consumer staples, healthcare, and real estate stocks recorded the biggest gains on Thursday as most S&P 500 sectors closed on a positive note. However, communication services and information technology stocks were among the worst performers, dragging the U.S. stock market lower. U.S. stock futures declined again on Friday as the Dow Jones, Nasdaq, and S&P 500 indices fell following Thursday's lower close. The Nasdaq 100 index plunged by 1.62% on Thursday amid a sell-off in tech stocks. Shares of Micron Technology, ticker MU, and Advanced Micro Devices, ticker AMD, both fell by more than 5% each. On Thursday night, President Trump aggressively praised domestic economic progress during an impromptu primetime address, declaring that the U.S. is enjoying unprecedented global investment and has become, quote, the hottest country anywhere in the world, end quote. Trump asserted that the nation is doing great with historic employment figures. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.53% and the 2-year bond was at 4.12%. The CME Group's Fed Watch tool projections show that the markets are pricing in an 89.8% likelihood that the Federal Reserve leaves the current interest rates unchanged during the July meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one should be obvious. It is indeed Netflix, which reported earnings last night, and it tumbled 8.92% in the pre-market on Friday after those mixed results on Thursday, and they also issued weak guidance for the quarter. The next stock on our list is going to be Intuitive Surgical. The ticker on this one is ISRG, and that also dropped 9.28% despite posting better than expected second quarter results after Thursday's closing bell. The next stock on our list is going to be Nebius Group, ticker NBIS, and it declined 4.09% as investors assessed its new asset-light data center partnership model, raised questions due to lack of detailed information on partners and financial projections. The next stock on our list is an oldie but a goodie. It's Coca-Cola. Ticker is KO, and it was 0.68% higher despite disclosing a ransomware attack on its Fairlife subsidiary. However, the beverage maker also activated its response plan. The The final stock on our list here today is going to be CoreWeave, and the ticker is CRWV. It was down 3.98% as CEO Michael Intrater sold 24.8 million in stock. CFO Nitin Agrawal disposed of 65,055 Class A shares valued at 5.5 million on July 14th and 13th, respectively. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart here. So where we're sitting right here, 744.67. Now, a couple of things about this. I know we were just kind of talking about a potential bounce here today. That's going to be really important when you think about where we are in the chart. So yes, we're below the trend line. We talked about how being above the trend line was great, but kind of not really because we didn't break through it on high volume. We kind of just traded sideways through it. Well, now on this little bit of a dip, we've actually traded beneath that trend line. So despite us not ripping through it with authority, when we move through it here, this is still going to represent an upside resistance level. And I've got that at just about, so let me see. Let me zoom in here because I think I was off on that. Here's the candle for today. Oh, man, this is tough. Sorry about that. Here's the candle for today. I've got this value at just about 748.21. So you want to call it 748 and a quarter. That works for me. But if you take a look now, this is where we're at between some of these moving averages. So the 20-day moving average is 745. We're slightly beneath that. Can we close above that? That'll be one of the things we watch today. But also, if we continue to get pounded or if we trade down and then bounce a little bit, really the question for me is, can we get back above the 743.65? Not sure if we're going to have the strength to do that. And then beneath that, we also have 740. This is a previous resist and a previous support. It's pretty sticky, should be enough to support us here today if we continue to move down. But we'll see. We'll let the market tell us what it's actually going to do here. And then just for some context here, I know it's kind of felt nasty the past couple of days. One of the things we've talked about, especially on happy hour, is that when markets move down or one of these indices moves down by 600 or 700 points, it's not like it used to be. The markets have moved higher so much that it's really not quite the same. Now, if we take a look here and we measure to where we are at today, we are down 2% from the all-time highs or thereabouts, depending on where you put your measurement anchors. So we're really not down that much from the all-time highs. But if you look at individual names, it feels a lot different depending on the name that you're looking at. So indices only tell one story. We're also going to focus on some of the individual names and what they are doing. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. One of our favorites, Scott Wren, Senior Global Market Strategist at Wells Fargo Investment Institute, highlights a positive forward outlook for the economy and corporate profits. However, he cautions that the current earnings season faces exceptionally high stakes. We actually talked about that in happy hour. This is going to be a very important earnings season. While corporate profits are growing strongly, Wren notes that analyst consensus forecasts have been elevated. Consequently, he states that, quote, the big question during this earnings reporting season is whether or not companies can outperform very high expectations, end quote. Remember, we've looked at some of these expectations before when the bar has been traditionally low. Because institutional investors are heavily focused on unofficial whisper numbers, Wren warns that simply beating consensus estimates may no longer be enough to result in positive near-term stock performance, end quote. Wren expects heightened market volatility and severe punishment for companies that disappoint. Under these stringent conditions, he emphasizes that, quote, good results may not be good enough, end quote. Despite these short-term risks, however, Wren remains optimistic about the broader U.S. economy and advises that, quote, downside volatility during earnings reporting season might provide attractive entry points in our favorite sectors, end quote. And he is referencing particularly technology and financials. So again, indices are showing one thing. Some individual names are getting slammed. Really, the question is do those come into more manageable levels, whether it's a fundamental basis or looking at the chart for a support level? That's ultimately going to tell the story here. Now, we do have a couple of economic things today. June's housing starts and June's import price data will be out by 8:30. Shouldn't really move things. And then June's industrial production and capacity utilization data will be out by 9:15. July's preliminary University of Michigan consumer sentiment data will be out by 10. So we are expecting some economic numbers today. How are those going to be? I don't know how much those are actually going to move the market today. I think we're still moving on the chip destruction and the rotation that we've actually talked about quite a bit here this week. Now, let's dive into Netflix here real quick. And actually what we'll do is we'll start with the chart, and we'll start with some kind words here too. I don't often get this, but let's do it. Eric says, Ryan, you called this yesterday. We all should have been short Netflix. Now, indeed, the move down was called here. We actually talked about 70 being really a key level. And then the next level is really $63. So something else to look at here today. Oh, sorry. Let me zoom back out on this chart. Here's one of the big concerns. So we do have kind of this janky looking head and shoulders. Not the best, but with all of the problems that we've seen at Netflix and the poor earnings here, it looks like this is trying to resolve lower. Again, I think 63 is going to be your next possible support spot, but I'd be interested in the group for any other levels that you folks are looking for. If I recall from memory, which is not easy for me to do, we had a couple of folks yesterday say that they were looking at obviously 63, but then also 60 and I think 55. And I think one of our very, very patient happy hour members is even looking for like a 35-40 handle on Netflix for that potential buy spot. But this is what the chart looks like. Looking at the volume profile here, again, top end of this big node right at 63. And I think that this node pretty much consumes 60 to 63 before we get to that low volume node beneath it. So we'll see where we end up finding some support here on Netflix, but let's actually go over the report itself and then also some of the comments that were made there. So Netflix here, ticker NFLX, reported second quarter revenue of $12.56 billion. That's up 13% year over year. The revenue total missed a street estimate of $12.59 billion, and that was according to data from Benzinga Pro. Now, revenue by region is broken down as follows. UCAN, or the US and Canada, saw $5.43 billion, and that was plus 10% year over year. EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, saw $4.03 billion. That was higher by 14%. LATAM, or Latin America, was $1.58 billion. That was plus 21%. And APAC, which is Asia Pacific, was up came in at $1.51 billion, up 16%. The company said its revenue was solid and that it is on track to meet its objectives for the year. Second quarter earnings of 80 cents per share beat a street consensus estimate of 79 cents per share. Netflix said it's delivering value to members and seeing strong engagement. This includes view hours being up 2% year over year in the first half of 2026, despite being up against the Winter Olympics and the World Cup. That's actually kind of an impressive stat. The company highlights live programming to make up around 5% of its content spend for 2026 and around 1% of view hours. Live events are said to account for 6 of the top 10 new member sign-up days over the past 5 years, with live events beginning only in 2023. And I want to pause right there real quick because this is one of the things that I was saying that was going to be interesting. We talked around Christmas last year when Netflix started to play NFL games that, hey, you know, I'm someone, just from using my own example here, I'm someone that really doesn't see any value in Netflix. I've never really had a subscription. I don't really feel like I'm missing anything, and I don't care until they put the NFL on Netflix. And then all of a sudden I'm buying it for the month to capture those games. So this whole live events thing beginning in 2023, clearly the company sees room for growth here. Really the question for me is, are they going to be able to execute this? We've discussed a lot of the content problems at Netflix, and I don't know that we're necessarily out of the woods there, although I will say that going towards live events, and particularly sports, is probably a good move here for Netflix. But I digress. Advertising remains a key for the company, with Netflix on track to have over $3 billion in ad-related revenue for 2026. The company said it's seeing advanced U.S. upfront negotiations and live events lineup as it highlighted strong interest. Netflix is guiding for third quarter revenue of $12.86 billion. That's up 12% year over year. The company said the quarter is expected to see growth in memberships, pricing, and advertising revenue. The street estimate for the third quarter revenue is $13.01 billion, and third quarter earnings per share are expected to be 82 cents versus a street estimate of 84 cents. Netflix did, however, narrow its full-year revenue guidance from a prior range of $50.7 billion to $51.7 billion to a new range of $51 to $51.4 billion. The street estimate is $51.41 billion. So they just missed that street estimate. Now, continuing with Netflix here, one of the other things that got discussed here is what's next for Netflix. Not easy to say. Netflix becoming the next YouTube? I would say pump the brakes on that headline statement. But CEO Ted Sarandos says podcasts, creators, and vertical video are all part of the plan. Now, I want to know from you folks, do you think that this is actually going to work? We actually briefly talked about YouTube viewing habits yesterday, and a lot of us, it seems, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems a lot of us really don't necessarily think about going to YouTube when we go to our TV. It's normally something else, unless I guess you have YouTube as your TV service. But some of these creators, seems like, at least in my case, I watch that a lot more on mobile and computer, not necessarily on the television. I'd like to get your opinion on all of that. Netflix wants subscribers to do more than binge watch, with co-CEO Ted Sarandos on Thursday outlining the company's expansion into video podcasts, creator-led programming, and vertical video and lifestyle content. Speaking at the company's second quarter earnings call, Sarandos said Netflix's move into newer formats builds on how entertainment consumption has evolved over the past decade. Quote, over the last 15 years, the definition of TV has broadened and our definition has changed along with it, end quote. He added that Netflix has evolved from a platform built around scripted English language dramas into one that now includes local language programming, live sports, unscripted shows, games, video podcasts, and creator-led content, describing those additions as, quote, evolutionary, not revolutionary, end quote. Netflix was seeing early progress with mobile vertical clips and strong engagement from video podcasts, which Sarandos said was bringing members to the platform outside of traditional primetime viewing. The streaming company has been building a mix of owned and licensed podcasts featuring creators including Martha Stewart, Kate and Oliver Hudson, Jay Shetty, Bill Simmons, Pete Davidson, and Brian Williams. Sarandos added that Shetty's On Purpose was available exclusively on Netflix, while members were also tuning into The Breakfast Club and the official Bridgerton podcast. Quote, these are examples of us continuing to evolve and deliver members more entertainment value in more ways to engage with the stuff that they love, end quote. Again, that came from CEO Ted Sarandos. He also reiterated that the streaming giant remains primary builders, not buyers, as investors continue to speculate about potential acquisitions involving Lionsgate, ticker LION, and NBC Universal and other media companies. This is something we have discussed at great lengths here. Netflix, again, reported second quarter revenue of $12.56 billion, which was up 13% from a year earlier, and marginally missed Wall Street estimates of $12.59 billion. And adjusted earnings for the quarter came in at 80 cents per share, which topped Wall Street estimates at 79 cents per share. The streaming company said it remains on track to meet its full-year targets and forecasts its third quarter revenue of $12.86 billion, which represents a 12% year-over-year growth. So I really like to get your opinion on Netflix. I know we've talked a lot about the content problem that it seems to have, and I completely agree with that. What do you think fixes it? If you don't like this plan, what do you think the plan should be? Eric says Netflix needs to get into video games. Barb says, I watch Benzinga mornings on my TV. Okay, well, then I take back everything I said about YouTube on television. Keep doing that, Barb. We appreciate you. But again, Really curious how everyone thinks about Netflix here, and whether or not it's a buy. And if you don't think it's a buy, totally fine. What level would this be a buy for you? I'm curious. All right. What time is it? Oh, we're good. We are so good. All right. Next story here. This is an exclusive here. Skip, USO, and BNO. Louis Navellier explains why traders should prefer individual stocks like Phillips 66 or ticker PSX. As the U.S.-Iran conflict injects massive volatility into global energy markets, renowned investor Louis Navellier is urging traders to skip popular energy ETFs like the United States Oil Fund, or USO, and the United States Brent Oil Fund, or BNO. Instead, Navellier advises that investors should, quote, prefer individual stocks, end quote, specifically recommending refiners like Phillips 66, ticker PSX, to capitalize on the 2026 energy crunch. Navellier, founder and chief investment officer of Navellier & Associates, is taking a firm stance against broad commodity funds amid surging volatility. Quote, I do not recommend any energy ETFs, and I prefer individual stocks, end quote. Instead of tracking geopolitical risk through exchange-traded funds, Navellier is targeting downstream players that are positioned to capture high margins. He noted, quote, I do recommend refiners like HF Sinclair Corporation, or ticker DINO, and PSX due to strong forecasted sales and earnings, end quote. This sentiment regarding the structural risks of ETFs is echoed by Batunic's exchange analyst Dean Chen. Chen warns that funds like USO and BNO carry significant futures rollover risks. If the U.S.-Iran conflict suddenly de-escalates and supply chains normalize, the futures curve could flip into contango, generating painful negative roll costs for long-term ETF holders. While geopolitical tensions and naval blockades have pushed crude prices to near-term highs, Navellier does not foresee a sustained runaway rally driven by the conflict alone. Instead, he expects strong seasonal factors to support prices, projecting WTI crude to remain high, up to $82 a barrel for WTI, and that is through the Labor Day due to peak worldwide demand. However, he dismissed the longevity of the war-driven price premium. Quote, the recent uptick in crude oil prices due to the resumption of the U.S. attacks on the IRGC is expected to be temporary, since the IRGC is being systematically neutered, end quote. Navallier's preference for individual refining stocks like PSX aligns perfectly with a broader structural shift in the energy sector. With approximately 10% of global refining capacity currently offline, active refiners are posting historic profit margins. As Chen summarized, quote, in 2026, global oil pricing is no longer determined only by how much crude exists underground, but by the physical limits of alternative trade routes and whether critical energy infrastructure can survive geopolitical conflicts, end quote. For now, experts agree that investing directly in resilient refining infrastructure offers a stronger tactical advantage than simply betting on crude futures. So a good idea there. I think there's a place for ETFs. I think one of the things that they're getting at here is that if you don't time that move exactly, you might actually be incurring more risk with the way that some of these ETFs actually work. And as an alternative, you might want to take a look at refiners as opposed to oil producers. All right. Next story here. We're still good on time. Oh, yeah, we are. Next story here. Xi Jinping rejects AI solo performance by one country as China's Kimi K3 lands to challenge OpenAI and Anthropic. Chinese President Xi Jinping spoke at the 2026 World Artificial Intelligence Conference, or the WAC, on Friday, highlighting the need for international cooperation in AI development. That's funny because I heard that China was so far ahead of the United States. Now they're clamoring for cooperation, international cooperation. Funny how that works. Xi voiced China's readiness to pursue greater openness and practical action in AI development. He stressed the importance of international cooperation, stating that AI development should not be a solo performance by a single country, but a symphony of global collaboration. That is from the South China Morning Post as the reporter. She mentioned the newly established World AI Corporation Organization, which comprises 29 countries, including Russia, Pakistan, and Indonesia. He also declared China's commitment to support AI development in developing countries over the next 5 years, with plans to offer 5,000 AI research projects, training, seminar programs, and cooperation centers. The Chinese president emphasized the need for responsible AI development, guided by human wisdom and international consensus as AI continues to evolve rapidly. Xi's participation in the WAC, a key annual AI event in China, underscores the importance of AI in China's tech and geopolitical strategy. With stringent U.S. export controls on advanced semiconductors and limited access to top-tier AI models overseas, Beijing is accelerating to drive for tech autonomy. This also comes on the heels of Chinese startup Moonshot AI launching Kimi K3, the world's largest open source AI model, and that was late on Thursday. The new open source AI model with 2.8 trillion parameters claims to outperform leading US models from Anthropic and OpenAI in some capabilities. The company said Kimi K3 achieves, quote, open frontier intelligence, end quote, and is the largest open source model to date, surpassing Chinese rivals such as DeepSeek's 1.6 trillion parameter V4 Pro and Zhipu's AI 744 billion parameter GLM5 series. Parameters measure an AI's model complexity, with higher counts generally indicating greater capability. Meanwhile, despite the political divide in Washington over technology blockades against Beijing, NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, has started shipping its H200 AI chips to China as the U.S. approved limited exports. U.S. commercial official Jeffrey Kessler told lawmakers that exports of NVIDIA's H200 AI chips to China remain extremely limited, with only a handful shipped so far. However, the U.S. has recently approved about 10 Chinese companies to receive advanced AI chips from NVIDIA and Advanced Micro Devices, ticker AMD, under the strict controls. So we'll see which way we end up going with this. Again, I'm a very, very skeptical about some of the claims made there. I do think there is a place for open AI models, and we actually had a really great discussion yesterday in Happy Hour regarding local AI models and what these models can do on your phone. One of the key things here, though, is that this is not going to replace any of the larger frontier models that we've become accustomed to. So, all right, let's go back to Pro. It is Friday, which means there's always good vibes. But you know what it also means? It means that we get to talk to Mark Putrino. He came out firing yesterday. Yesterweek. It's not even a word, but we're going to make it one. Mark came out firing last week. Let's see what he's got for us this week. Mark, good morning. Happy Friday, my man.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. I'm always good on a Friday, and I don't know, how's the smoke by you?
It's pretty smoky, believe it or not.
No, I believe it. I believe it because yesterday was insane here in Chicago. I mean, insane. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't breathe. My eyes burned. You couldn't see anything. I mean, it looked like end of days.
I was driving down the Parkway to get my daughter, and I probably had about a quarter mile of visibility. So, yeah, it's better this morning.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. It's better this morning here. A quarter mile of visibility. I'm not even sure we got that yesterday, so maybe you didn't get hit as hard, and that's probably good. But good to hear that things are better. It's Friday. We're approaching our weekend, so we're going to be as positive as possible. Do you want to share your screen here today?
Yeah, so I'm having looking forward to tomorrow because my brother is a police officer, and I'm going on a ride along tomorrow night.
Ooh.
So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Oh, okay. I definitely let me know. I know you probably don't get on Slack much over the weekend, but let me know how that goes. I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm impatient. I don't want to wait till next Friday.
yeah. It should be pretty cool. You know, he's a sergeant, so he's the supervisor. So he'll be riding around a car that says supervisor, and it's Saturday night, so some stuff will be bound to happen. So
yeah, no question.
I've been asking him for this for like 10 years, and finally he's like, all right, so let's do it. So, and I'm not bringing my gun, even though I am a licensed firearm carrier. I think it's probably better off if I just leave it home.
I was going to say, if you're with the police, that's probably one of the times where you don't need to carry, but I'm with you on that.
All right.
That makes two of us.
So how much farther will SpaceX go? I think I bought puts last Friday, right after we were done. Let me just see. Yeah, last Friday. I mean, we had talked about this ad infinitum, right? So I think there's a ways to go here. And if you do want to buy it, uh, you got to wait for it to go up. So many things about trading are counterintuitive, and people just instinctively want to buy things that are going down. And I get asked all the time, like, oh, hey, Mark, the stock is down 20%. Should I buy it? Well, every stock in the history of mankind that's ever been down by 90% has been down by 20%. So you want to wait for a reversal to start and buy it on the way up. Just like if you're someone who's trading a breakout, you're trading when we get above the resistance. So in either case, you're buying things on the way up. But anyway, I I don't even think I have a target on this thing. I'm just going to keep letting it drop until it stops dropping, and then I'll sell my puts and maybe buy calls at that point. But
Now, when you say you don't have a target, but you're going to wait for it to keep dropping, what then signifies the bottom for you if it's not an actual price target? Is it a change in character? Is it an RSI level? Is it a reversal? Is it a candle formation? How do you determine then when the exit is?
I think it could be just something as simple as just breaking this downtrend line.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously it doesn't have a long trading history, but we've been through this before, and these things can really go down a lot. It doesn't mean it's not a great company, and it doesn't mean it doesn't have great future prospects. But you know, markets are markets, and if everyone who wants to buy something buys something, then there's just no one else to buy it, and a market with no buyers cannot go up. So tech is looking pretty weak, and I am anticipating probably pretty meaningful correction in tech. Notice how I'm just saying tech and not the broad market, even though tech is
Mhm.
the biggest part. Because let's just take a look at the technology sector. And just like we had in oil, we're getting this kind of classic descending triangle type pattern here. Where are we this morning? 173. Yeah, so it looks like we're breaking down this morning. We had a very similar pattern back here. These descending triangle patterns, they tend to be pretty reliable. I mean, as you'll probably know if you listen to me a lot, I don't talk about too many patterns, but I do think that the descending and
Yeah.
ascending triangle patterns are worth paying attention to. And let's just think about what this shows us here. The buyers are just willing to hang out and be patient. And at the same time, or what I should say is over the same time horizon, the sellers are getting increasingly aggressive. They're willing to come in at lower and lower prices. So this combination of complacent buyers, aggressive sellers, it could set the stage for a move lower. And right now we are seeing similar dynamic. The semis.
Really quickly before you go away from that, if you don't mind, first of all, Pythagoras loved triangles, and if it's good enough for him, it should be good enough for us. But if you go back to that last descending triangle where we actually broke down out of the bottom of it, look what happened right after we did that. We within what 2 weeks? These are daily candles there. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just over a week worth of trading, we bounced right back over that and went on a huge run.
Exactly. Now, pay attention on that. There's something to point out. Oversold at a former support level. So that's where we found the bottom.
And so where do we look this time?
Well, I would say here the bottom is probably, I mean, geez, I could see us getting down to here pretty
Okay.
quick. And
Okay.
that would be let's see. Whoops, sorry. I used to be able to do this stuff in my head, but that would be about a 16% move. Now, let's go over to semiconductor land. And this looks pretty weak too. And where are we this morning? Oh, wow, this is like really breaking down this morning. So, I mean, if we don't hold this 530 level here, I think next stop is down there, down around here. And I mean, people start freaking out and everything, but when the markets go down, but we got to just take a step back and let's put this all in perspective. let's just say I am correct. And let's just say the market does go down 25%, which would meet the traditional definition of a bear market. It's just putting us back where we were in February, right? It's not like we're making all-time lows or we're down 90%. If we take a look back here, or just take a step back and put it in kind of a perspective, to drop from there it would not be an unprecedented thing in a market that's come so far. Now, for those of you who are not options buyers, we have to bring up, obviously, the SOXS, which is an ETF that is designed to move in the opposite direction as the semis by about 3 times as much. Look at today and yesterday. We're up 25% in 2 days. That's a good return for a year.
Yeah.
So look at Micron. I mean, if this chart doesn't look weak, I should be doing something else. I mean, fishing guy, maybe. Friend of mine who is a retired Wall Street guy just started a fishing guide business out in Nevada. And he's like, man, you got to come work for me.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. That actually sounds pretty good.
He's like, I won't pay you a lot, but you don't need a lot out here. So I don't know if my wife would be too keen on that, though. So,
no, probably not.
Yeah, that's another discussion. Yeah, so, I mean, this Micron chart looks pretty weak. And where might we want to think about support here? Where are we this morning? 825. I mean, I could see this get down to there, which is obviously a pretty fairly sizable move. But again, when you consider how far this thing has come, it's really just not unprecedented. When we're in these really big bull markets, people seem to forget that markets go down too. And if you were to just sit back and look at a chart and see this thing went down to here, it wouldn't be it wouldn't stick out. If it wasn't labeled, you wouldn't be like, wow, look what happened there. You would just be like, oh, there's just another typical chart with a typical sell-off. So now, one of the things I wrote about on the stock of the day this week, which I believe was yesterday, was this IBM really kind of caught me. But I was anticipating a reversal. But if all this other stuff starts to break down, this is probably going to go down too. And this is something that if you're an options buyer, you can think about puts on. A good lesson on this chart here is our whole discussion on how when we make a quick move through different places, we get gaps, or there's an old saying that gaps tend to refill. Now, one of the reasons in a market, and you can see this right up here, why we get resistance is because we have remorseful buyers who are trying to sell things on the way up. Someone buys something at 10 and it goes to 8, and they say, I made a mistake. If it gets back to 10, I'm going to sell it. So people buy, they ride their losing position. When they can finally get out at break even, they do so. Now, when you have a situation like this, where you gap, it means there was little or no trading in there. So if there's little or no trading, there's going to be no or a very small amount of people who bought who are going to be trying to sell on the way back up. So when the dust settles and there's a consolidation and buyers come in, they have a hard time finding sellers, and they have to really push the price higher. So this is your textbook gaps refill type thing. I mean, it's almost like perfect, right? This is right where the sell-off ended, and then the gap refilled right where it started. Now, notice here we have this big gap. So if the market reverses, which I mean, I would be surprised, but like I always say, it's having an opinion is a dangerous thing for a trader. You have to be a reactionary. So don't let me influence your thinking. But if we do start to reverse, look at this big gap that we could potentially move quickly right back through. Now you get the mirror image. This here is kind of the same thing. It's technically not a gap, but it's the same thing. It's a quick move. Now the mirror image is on the downside. One of the main reasons in a market why we get support is we get remorseful sellers trying to buy things back on the way down. People sell something at 10 and it goes to 12, and they say if it drops back to 10, I'm going to buy it back. Well, same kind of a principle here. When you blow through these price levels so quickly, there's just not a lot. You're not there for a lot of time for there to be this big like group of remorseful sellers who are trying to buy back on the way down. So it's just a principle of financial markets where if you move quickly through price levels in one direction, and then you get back to those same levels in an opposite direction, you can move quickly right back through them. So this morning I'm writing about Rocket Lab. That's going to be my stock of the day. And I'm getting pretty close to getting my trading school going. So I'll have to keep you guys up on that.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know if there's anything I can assist you with on that. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be similar to the Benzinga school in a lot of ways from years ago, but I've really kind of streamlined, and it's really just kind of my philosophy of like the way I look at things. It's not going to be like, oh, well, here's what a moving average is. Here's this or here's that. These are my what I think are as important. This is what I'm just kind of working on. So the fractal nature of charting, which I think is one of the most amazing things, one of the most incredible things about charting, because if you're looking at a chart and this wasn't labeled, you wouldn't know what this was. This could be 5-year chart. It could be a 1-year chart. We can even look at the 1-day chart and you see, let's take off our extended hours here, right? What do you see? The same patterns that we see. So here we have support at a former support level, resistance at a former resistance level. So this is the psychology of your day traders, your short-term traders, people that bought yesterday around 1 o'clock, regretted it. So around 1:30, they're selling to get out at break even. Kind of the same thing happens. At 2:24, these people are selling to get out at break even. Same thing on the bottom. People sell on the bottom, right? They regret it. When it gets back there, they go to buy it back. So this is the 1-day chart. Now we're going to look at the 1-year chart. And guess what? You can see some of the same things. Resistance at a former resistance level, support at a former support level. Let's look at the 5-year chart. And this would be the psychology of, the psychology of your longer term buy and hold investor. Here are people that sold in July of 22 are going to buy back in April of 24, almost 2 years later. So it's really an amazing thing. The other amazing thing about this too is if this chart wasn't labeled, it could be a commodity, it could be a crypto. As you guys all know, one of my favorite charts to look at is this one here, which is the S&P from the 1800s. And guess what? You see the same exact stuff that we see now. If it wasn't labeled, you wouldn't know what this was. Support at former support. Think about it. This is like you didn't have a car. So what would you do? You'd probably hop on your horse, ride down to the local telegraph office, telegraph your order into New York. But yet somehow all these things come together. And keep in mind, 90% of the people that do this don't look at charts, which makes this even more amazing that you can get this like collective consciousness. But human beings haven't changed. And this is what we see in these charts. And I think people take it for granted because, frankly, I think a lot of people that do this don't know their asses from their elbows, as we used to say when I was a kid. But anyway, if you look at this not through the prism of math or chess, but through the prism of, hey, we are mass psychologists here, that's where the success comes from. Don't think about this chart as this is Rocket Lab. Think about this as a chart of the people that are trading Rocket Lab.
It's a graphical representation of the psychology of that.
Exactly. That's what we're looking at here. We're like psychologists and we're like psychiatrists, right? We're all acting upon on our own. But think about this for a second, right? Think about how big these markets are, the S&P, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And again, most people do not look at charts, even on Wall Street. Bankers, private equity guys, they're not looking at charts. Most Wall Street institutional people, at least the ones I've encountered, most of them, they're more interested in models. They have quantitative modeling. Like the last firm that I was at, there was like 20, 25 people there, right? Most of them were analysts. There were a couple portfolio managers, and there was me and my two assistants who are the traders. Those guys are not looking at charts. I can guarantee you that. Now look at this. If we think about all these trillions, how is it possible we get such precision, such precise levels? Right from there, with which we make these changes within pennies or within dollars. So I was watching William Shatner's The Unexplained, which is a really cool show. And they were talking to these guys that are literally gurus. They're these high priests in the Hindu religion. And they were talking to them because supposedly these guys could live to be like 120 or 130 because they slow their metabolisms down so much when they meditate. But anyway, they were talking to this one guy, and he was just talking about how, like, we all do our own thing, but we're all collected in the same consciousness. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty good way to explain what the hell is going on here, because I sure as hell can't come up with a better explanation. I don't know if you
No,
can.
I actually know what you're referring to because I've seen that same stuff on the History Channel. But that is, I had never thought about it like that. That's quite interesting.
I mean, it's just you can't explain this with earnings or price to earnings or EBITDAs or margins or ratios. How is it possible the market had the exact same valuation here that it did here? It's just you can't explain it by numbers. The only way you can explain it is by like herd mentality and realizing that. One of my favorite examples is you drive down the highway and there's 50 cars in one lane. 95% of people instinctively are going to just jump on that lane. Those people lose money in the market. The people that say, hey, look, that lane's got a green light and there's no one in it, I'm going to go through there. That's the people that.
That's me. I'm always looking for the open lane on the road. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you guys want to fire out some questions?
We had one request here to take a look at the chart T, which I feel like we might have looked at before, but not for some time. This is obviously a former dividend-paying income stock, but let's take a look at AT&T.
Well, I'll tell you what, their rival Verizon sucks. So, because that's what I have, I'm thinking about getting rid of.
Oh, really? That's crazy. I completely disagree. I'm on the other side of that. I've had multiple cell phone services. Nothing beats Verizon. But that could be area dependent. You're on the East Coast, maybe it's different there. Here in the Midwest, out west, not even close.
I have been 1 month behind on my Verizon bill for like 5 years now because I get a call, your bill is past due. And I go to pay, and all it does is let me pay the amount that's past due. It doesn't let me pay the current amount. So every month I just pay, I'm 1 month behind.
Well, that sounds like their problem, to be quite honest with you.
All right. So AT&T, this is actually something I was looking at not too long ago. Perfect. Because one of my favorite ways of getting into trades here is to look at things that get oversold and get to support. As we've seen, there tends to be support at former support levels. So this gets down here. Notice we get oversold on the RSI. And this is not a trade I jumped in, but had I been paying closer attention, I would have. And this is exactly what I anticipated happening. So this doesn't look like a big move, but it's a 7 or 8% move, which in the options world is a lot. Now, when we're oversold and we're at support, we're at the race, and the starter has said on your market set, but they haven't said go yet. What would the go be? Oh, when the RSI line crosses back up above this lower threshold right there, that's your trigger to buy. That's the starter saying go, because you don't want to catch the fallen knife. And if this support breaks, this line is not going to turn higher. So it just requires some patience. But when you see something that is oversold and at support, there's a really good chance there's a profit opportunity there, because oversold stocks that get to support tend to reverse. You just got to have the patience to the old Wall Street saying, right? The only people that can get the bottom and tops are liars. So don't even bother trying to get the bottom. That's just a psychological thing. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to make money. So if you wait for the reversal to start, you're going to put the odds much greater in your favor.
And
Now,
let me add to that real quick. I love that saying. We're not here to say it again. We're not here to
be perfect. We're here to make money.
We're not here to be perfect. We're here to make money. And here's the thing. If you try to be perfect, you will lower the rate at which you make money. If you stop trying to be perfect and you just focus on making money, things are going to go a lot better for you.
And I think, too, that if you, instead of spending the main time focusing on your charts, spend your main time focusing on your account, that equity line, right? And if at the end of the day, your account is worth more than one that was at the beginning of the day, you've done your job. And I think if you are more in that mindset of, let me increase the value of my account, it makes it much easier to stick to your rules or your strategy. You need to have some kind of strategy. There's a zillion of them, and a lot of them work if you stick to them. Problem is, people's emotions don't work, people's emotions prevent them from following the strategy. But if you don't have a set of rules, like for instance, my plan here was that was my key to buy, and this would have been my target. So I would have sold this thing yesterday, but in options world, that's a 10% move. I would have had I probably would have been up 50% on the right option, but I had a definitive strategy for getting in and a definitive strategy for getting out, because it really comes down to this. There's a zillion different strategies. Everyone's reinventing the wheel or building the better mousetrap. It just comes down to, if you don't have rules, you're just guessing. And people buy things because it's easy to buy, it's exciting, but they don't think about the exit strategy. And the success from this is it's not what you buy, it's how you exit your positions. It's a defensive game. It's about selling. So that's what you got to think about. You shouldn't get into something unless you know how you're going to get out of it. And I'll give you another counterintuitive thing that this guy, Larry Williams, who's this great trader, said when I went and saw him speak a bunch of years ago. Whenever you take a trade, assume you're going to be wrong, because if it starts to go against you, it's much easier to get out of, because it's not messing with your head. If you get into this trade thinking this thing is going to be great, I'm going to buy a Rolls Royce, blah, 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 blah. When it starts to go against you, you're going to have to really swallow your pride. And it's a completely different mindset. But I would suggest that you guys give it a try if you're a shorter term
It's
trader.
very difficult for people to admit when they're wrong. We see that in every corner of life, and you make it more difficult by having those emotions up front. And like saying, I'm going to buy this stock and it's going to lead to a Rolls or a Ferrari. Well, it's going to be disappointing if that doesn't work. And if it goes against you, now you just made your job harder. Really quick, Mark, couple of good tips here from the chat. FYI, my producer is saying, this is what you do with your Verizon bill. When you pay it off, call them back 3 days later to pay it again. And one of the reasons that might be important here is because they want you to have it where you're paying late every month, because they also get to charge you a late fee. So you might be able to break that. Also, another trick here, Alan, I read your name as Alan Lively OnlyFans, but then I took a closer look at it and realized that's not what it says. Alan says the trick is to get a Verizon card and have it on auto pay, then pay off the card each month. So there are some things that you can do, Mark. We're gonna get you fixed up there. Now, before you head off, can we take a quick look at Redwire RD Dub?
There are also other services that are cheaper that are popping up.
Mark's like, I see your comebacks and I raise you one of my own. Also, another East Coaster here saying that the service is better on AT&T than Verizon. So maybe that's a theme.
All right. Well, a couple lessons here was, one, resistance at a former resistance level, right? So we got to former resistance. Now, if you get a stock that's extremely overbought, it's hard to, in my opinion, it's hard to get stopped out based on a reversal or an amount of points or whatever. Think about getting stopped out based on momentum. In other words, you just ride it while it's really overbought. When this RSI line turns, that tells you that the buying pressure is subsiding. So the momentum is slowing down. So it's a stop out, but it's a stop out based upon momentum, not a price or percentage. Now, here, not to the same degree, but we're getting pretty oversold, and we're getting to a former support level here. Where are we in the pre-market? So, I mean, 770 or so, which for a stock like this would not be an unusual move. But again, we get here, we're oversold. That's the starter saying on your mark, get set. And you got to just wait for the reversal to start before you jump in. That if the RSI line turns higher, that could be your trigger to get in.
All right. That's perfect. There you go, Redwire folks. Mark, we really appreciate it. Hopefully the weather continues to get better for you, and hopefully you're able to enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, man. And I'm wondering if I'm going to have to wear a bulletproof vest tomorrow night. I think I'm probably going to have to.
That would be sick. Let me know how that, feels. Like, is it super heavy? I've never put one on, so I don't know. But I'd be curious.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Definitely really keep me posted on how that goes. You don't have to take pictures. I don't want to get you in trouble, but I'd love to hear your experience from that. That'd be amazing.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to drink. I don't think my brother would appreciate it if I brought a flask.
Yeah, probably a terrible idea, but that's okay. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Maybe enjoy it.
All right, everyone.
Mark, stay safe. We'll catch you next week. Thanks for everything. And yeah, really good education here yet again. Mark Putrino, our resident CMT. Remember, folks, sign up for his Substack. You can get a lot more of what he writes about, some of the lessons, and some of his historical tie-ins to it, all of which are very valuable. Really cool that he's going back to the trading school too. That is, I think that's going to be a real good idea. But I digress. Mark's departure leaves room for the one and only 13. To bring you on cold. Then you're going to wave to everybody. Pre-market pulse starts right now. $13, you're one of the sharper knives in the drawer. We got to keep you on your toes. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit. How you doing? Happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday, Brian. Happy Friday, everybody. How's everybody in the chat this morning? Looks like we are continuing lower here today with more market weakness. That rotation continues.
Indeed it is. Is there anything in particular you want to look at? Should we start with the movers?
We could. You have Netflix up right there. I don't know if you're wanting me to talk about it, but I'll go ahead and take the bait. Yes, we did go underneath 70 finally.
Yes, actually there was no bait here. Netflix, I mentioned this as probably the biggest event, market event from yesterday in terms of like earnings and all of that. We talk about Netflix often here. We've had a thesis that is clearly playing out in our favor here. I had mentioned earlier that 70 and 63 were the big levels. Well, we've clean break of 70 here, 63 next. But yeah, whatever you see on this chart, your thoughts on this, let's hear it.
Well, let's see what we get with the regular session here today. This is going to be a big gap down. So I would think that there is going to be some desire to try and fill that gap to the upsides and recapture 70. That's kind of the thought here. Don't know if we'll get all that, and we could, because this is getting to be pretty oversold now. So we could see a bit of a relief rally here, but I don't think that we're going to start recapturing some of the major levels. There still could be some further downside. I don't know if anybody read through the report. I briefly skimmed through it, but one thing that really stuck out is that, yeah, they are having a big content problem, and subscribers are leaving. Now, I know that they also reported that they had, increased sales, and that they, even though they had a mixed earnings, they're still making quite a bit of money. I attribute all that to their increase in subscription fees. So they can offset that that people are in fact leaving this platform, and also they've increased their ad revenue as well. So there are things to offset the subscribers leaving that may not have been noticed. Like, oh, subscribers aren't leaving if they're continuing to have revenue growth. It's because they're raising the subscriptions and they're getting money from elsewhere. That's really what it comes down to. So this is, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just to kind of go along with that, the two things that are in play here. First of all, when they report earnings, they actually break down their different segments by revenue. So you're exactly right. They're actually talking about the revenue figure. I read them this morning. US, Canada, plus 10% year over year. Europe, Middle East, Africa, plus 14%. Latin America, plus 21%. APAC, which is Asia Pacific, plus 16%. All revenue figures. Right? All revenue figures. And the other thing that they said, 13, is that they've started to go into live programming and they see a lot of traction there. Thus, they want to expand some of that live programming. And what did I say right around Christmas? I'm someone that has never paid for Netflix. And then all of a sudden, I'm buying a month of the ad-free Netflix because they put football on Christmas Day on Netflix. So I think you're onto something there. I think some of the numbers that are being reported here really kind of encompassing two other things here. And the question is going to be, can they continue to do this? Well, can they continue to raise subscription prices? No, I don't think so. Can they continue to add more live content? Yeah, but let's see if it works. They
need to have more product offerings because that's what's really going to get subscribers to come back. They also, one of the things that I also mentioned in the happy hour, I think yesterday was, or in the recap was, they are no longer going to be reporting their viewership figures on a biannual basis. They're just going to cut it down to 1 year. So we don't get to know how their viewership is going until after 12 months. Looking at their recent viewership figures, it's pretty much been the same, maybe slightly higher every time. For the past 5 years. So viewership up to like 93 billion hours at one point, and then it's now come up to about 96 billion viewer hours over the past 5 years. So that's kind of stagnant in my view. And I think that that's one of the big reasons they really need to make that push for live programming, because they are stagnant in their viewership. They're losing viewers, and they need to have a better product offering. So this is where I am with Netflix. They need to start having a better offering out of their service. Otherwise, it's probably going to end up coming down underneath 60 and finding itself filling that gap from February of 2024.
Yeah. Okay, and I think that what you're talking about is right in here. This is the gap.
Yeah.
Right in here, and it looks like that bottom of that gap at 50 handle 13. So I got a moving average in the way there. So
50 handle.
Yep. There we go. Okay. All right. Really good stuff there on Netflix. We'll see how that trades here today. Lion, Netflix down to 55. That was actually one of the levels that got discussed yesterday in happy hour. So it looks like you're on one of those same levels there. MeDot, I'm a Netflix bear. Not surprised. We've actually covered this really well over the last couple of weeks and months, I think, at this point. All right, 13, you ready for movers?
Yeah, and it's not going to be a very big list, so I have no problem going right back to some of the chunkier stocks. But we can just look at the movers because it's a lot of old girlfriends and it's a couple of new issues here. Not new issues, but things we haven't looked at yet.
Okay. Is there anything on your list that you want to start with, or should I just run down the list in order, do you think?
You just run it down in the order. I only have two on here. This is one of them, and then CJMB is next.
Okay, perfect. And S-Dot's obviously an ex-girlfriend.
S-Dot, B, those are still trading. Yep.
Great. This should be fairly easy. Then we'll go ahead and take more requests for charts from the chat. Rooster, we got Lion. We also got those Redwire ones with Mark, so we're doing good here. Okay, first one here is going to be Southland Holdings. The ticker is SLND, Sierra Lima, November Delta. Southland Holdings shares are trading higher after the company's joint venture was awarded a contract for the Winnipeg North End sewage treatment plant upgrade. We'd have to go through the PR to get more of the specifics here. This is ripping the stock higher by 67%. This stock was just beneath 70 cents yesterday. We're tapping 114 here today. The one thing I will say about this, pretty decent pre-market action, price action. We had the impulse move on the good headline. You had a moderate pullback to VWAP, kind of a hold, chop around, and then another move higher. Now, where do we go from here? We'll have to let the market tell us that. But a quick peek at the short interest on this name, 2.47% of That's weird. 2.47% of the float is shorted. 1 day to cover on this. And if we take a look at the float, 14.42 million in there. The $25 million is what they're going to get from the new project with two of its subsidiaries. So we can actually attach a number to that too. 13, what do you have here? SLND.
As you put it, they received a contract. They're trading up on that. Problem is that this has got a pretty hefty area of supply to chew through. If you look on a daily chart, you can see that basically all year since we got down here and starting in March, and we've had this sideways price action that it's trying to work through right now. Being that it's struggling to get over 115, you can see at that 115 level, that's about the median of this entire consolidation area from the from March to June, basically. So that's where we're it's trying to work through right now. Fortunately, it is trading above the 65-day EMA, so I think there is at least a chance to try and push higher. There's different levels that I had for this one. After, if we can get through 115, it would be 140, 170, and 191. Those are the next three resistance areas that I saw at the upside here. The company does have revenue. It does have a little bit of cash. Balance sheet does not look great. They do have quite a bit of debt, and they're not profitable. So hopefully this contract helps them along with that. It says that 25 million in new contracts. Great. They've got let's see, they've got 62 million in debt that's needs to be serviced this year. So hopefully that chips away at that. They need to their balance sheet does not look great as a result of the amount of debt they have. But those are the levels to the upside if we end up getting those. Otherwise, if we lose $1, it's going to trade like a different animal, and I wouldn't want to see. I wouldn't want to touch it at that point.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I will probably avoid this one anyway today. Just given it being a Friday, there might be some better stuff. We do have a fair value gap here, though. We actually have two, and the first one worked. So just, take this with a grain of salt. Your first fair value gap is actually going to be right in here, and this goes up to this. And we actually came back and basically bounced right off the top of it. But the second one looks like we're about to enter right now. Your second one is going to be right in here. And it looks like that also lines up somewhat nicely with the 9 EMA. So we'll see if we do get a bounce from this area. Again, this is viewed as high risk. Take it with a grain of salt. Okay, next on the list here is SDOT. And as mentioned here, this is one that we've been trading before. We affectionately call it an ex-girlfriend. SDOT here higher on what looks like no news at all. Excuse me. This is today. I beg your pardon. Sadot Group to acquire Trade IQ predictive intelligence software layer from Litiel for $6 million. So first thing that I want to take a look at, how much, okay, so they don't even really have that money on the balance sheet, at least right now. I'll be interested to see how they're going to finance this. Might be in the PR, but we'll have to go through it. Stock is higher here today by 55%. We've seen this stock absolutely rip before. Short interest on this, 9.46%, 1 day to cover. And it has a float of 1 million, 2x the average daily volume ahead of the open. What do you think here on SDOT?
I mean, we've already looked at this one. It's the only difference for me is that it has news that's trying to drive it further. I didn't really go over this one because we already know what this is and we've traded it before. Yep. But let me see what I've got in terms of levels here. Okay, so looks like we're kind of struggling to hold above the VWAP at the moment. Back and forth this morning. But we do have a trend line here. I don't know if you noticed that on the 5-minute chart. It's kind of shallow. We're trying to get, we just tried to push through it just now. So you start at the top there and go, yeah. So you see, we just kind of tried to push through that, got rejected. So I think in the near term, this is what I'd be watching for. If we can get back above that that trend line and see some candles close over 2250. If we get that, then maybe this starts to trade up and we can look towards 24 as the next resistance for a break. But here we are coming back down to the VWAP. And if we lose that, then the support's going to be probably down around 1950, between 1950 and 20 if we lose VWAP. So that's what I see for now. Need to break over the trend line, get back above 2250. We could go to 24. We lose VWAP. We come down to around 1950 to 20 and try to find support there.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there on SDOT. By the way, I'm seeing this headline creep across the wire. Taco Bell franchisee sued over the diarrhea lettuce. So looks like that is starting to pick up here.
Oh, no. That's going to be, man, these memes just kind of make themselves, don't they? We already knew Taco Bell was notorious for, well, we're not going to get into that. Anyway, it's kind of funny how things play out.
13. I love how you like went into it and then you're like, you know what? Now I'm actually just going to bail on this. By the way, the memes have been absolutely incredible the last like week. I feel like just as kind of an aside here, just to kind of put some laughs on everyone's face on a Friday. This has been the favorite one that I've seen so far. Anyone that's played Oregon Trail probably loves this. I audibly laughed multiple times for that one. So, okay, let's get back down to brass tacks here. I'm sorry for digressing. It's Friday. It's my fault. Blame it on me.
Oh, nostalgia.
Next one we have here is ticker CJMB, and this is similar. This was a penny stock yesterday, moved into dollar territory here today. 150 absolutely seems to be the top. We're still holding higher here by 44%. Now, we do have some news here. Callan JMB, the stock, this was from yesterday. Excuse me. Callan JMB, this was from the morning.
Yeah, it's trending higher.
So this is from yesterday morning. This partnership with Alabama State University to support the development of integrated pharmaceutical manufacturing ecosystem was actually from yesterday morning, but it is running 42% here today. Sorry about that. Short interest on this name, 4.05%, 1.45 days to cover. Float is 2.12 million. Traded 20 million shares here today. What do you think on CJMB?
I think the combination of the news and this we're in a little bit of a theme with transportation, and this is in the freight and logistics industry, probably getting a lift from that. But the float in this is 2.12 million, so still pretty low, and it does have very little revenue, little cash, not profitable. So a little bit of, there's that risk. We did get past 110, which was a resistance area. That was, we did hold 110, which was a support area. We got past the 65 EMA, which was the resistance area when I was looking at this. So we've recaptured that level. Next is VWAP. VWAP or 130. They're both right in the same area. So that's the next resistance level that we're going to try to climb through here. And I don't see anything else that would really get me going about this one. Other than that, everything I just described there. So,
okay, CJMB. I'm going to avoid this one totally here today, but a good breakdown. Okay,
and it's one of those that's in the cryogenic transportation. So I don't know if we've talked about that at one point before, that being a theme. I don't know if it still is, but it's something to keep an eye on if you're looking for names of companies that are involved in transportation of cryogenic products, like pharmaceuticals, for example.
All right. Next here, get excited. Baiynd is back, which means you get to say it a whole bunch here today. Now, this did pop in the after. A reminder, this is a Chinese name. Did pop in the after hours yesterday. It's come back in a little bit, but it is still basically finding resistance at the first after hours support level. Let me check to see if there was any news on this one. Holding higher here by 35%. That was from Wednesday morning. Trading activity was elevated on Thursday. No, don't necessarily see any direct reason for this. Short interest on this name, 4.13%, 1 day to cover. Its float is 2.7 million. 13, you have anything here on former ex-girlfriend Baiynd?
Didn't look at it, but seeing that there was a reverse split earlier this month, so that's made this the float much easier to push around. I think that's, I would lean on into that being the idea of why we're seeing this movement here. Because I don't see any news to drive it. I just see that we had the reverse split, and that's just kind of been the theme this week is look for these really low float names, sometimes under $1 million, and they're likely Chinese or Singapore or Malaysian, and they get taken for a ride. So maybe this is the next one that gets taken for a ride. Just something to watch for. No guarantee that it happens.
Sure.
Keep an eye on it.
All right. Next on the last list here is PMAX. This is Powell Max. This popped in the after hours. This actually gives us a, I kind of want to cut this down. I'll adjust this if we're able to make it through this trend line, but I'm going to cut that first opening wick there on the pre-market and see how that does for us. Now, this stock's holding higher here by 18%. Looks like we have no fresh news on here. The most recent piece of news I have is from July 9th. Short interest on this name, 4.63% of the float is shorted, 1 day to cover. Its float, 1.03 million. It's traded 7x its average volume prior to opening here. 13, do you have anything on PMAX?
Just that this VWAP, even in the after hours yesterday, has been a little bit of a pain to really hold over. It doesn't have, it has some candles that have closed over it and held above it for a time, and then it just goes right back beneath VWAP. So VWAP, very much a big resistance level here. There's also a trend line. If you use the opening candle or the one right after it in the pre-market, it should be about the same high as the after hours, and draw it through the 735 candle. That kind of gives you a trend line here that lines up pretty well with the VWAP. So we've got a bit of a breakout spot here around 210, 215 to watch for, and it looks like we're trying to come up to that like as we approach the open. So if you're looking for a breakout move here in PMAX, watch for that volume to expand. We might get this move that takes us up through the VWAP and the trend line. Okay,
and last one here from the movers list. Just want to mention it because it's been on deck all week here. It's Twin V Power Cats. This went as high as 46 in the pre-market. It's come back into 40. This is what it looks like over the past couple of days. We're still kind of inside here. I would be careful with this one. If you really wanted to make some drawings, you could probably do something like this and then something like this and see what those trend lines end up going for. But we all know about V. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention here on this?
Just on that 5-minute chart, when I kind of back out and see the last few days, yeah, there is kind of a range that it's been in, and it's generally between like 24 as the low and 46, maybe 47 as the top end there. Even though we did pop through it in the after hours on the 15th, I still kind of think that we're in this, the sideways range here for the time being. And I guess once we start closing above or beneath that range is the general direction it's going to go then. So that's just what I'm seeing right now. The past several days, just a range that it's in.
Okay. One thing here before we go to a chart, 13, I'm going to have you break it down. I'm going to run to the washroom. But one thing I want to follow up on that I had said earlier was the SPY. And I had mentioned that we are up off of the lows earlier when we talked about the futures. And we had said that the pre-market low is likely now to be a key level. Well, if we take a look inside now, look what we've actually broken it. Technically, we've broken it, but we're right there, just about 742.50. So right now, no signs that the market is firming up yet. Still looks bloody here in the pre-market. I would say if you're going to wait for a bounce here, channel your inner Mark Putrino and don't necessarily try to catch the falling knife. Instead, wait for one of those confirmations. You don't need to nail the dead bottom. You just need to make money. So put the odds in your favor there on SPY.
Let's look at all the economic data we were getting this morning. That's really, I think, what's
perfect. Because I said at the beginning here, I didn't think any of that data would move stuff, and now that's exactly what's happening. So that couldn't go any better.
Yeah, it really. I mean, of course, we had several other things in the market that's I would say is also pulling it down. In addition to the rotation, we had Netflix and a bunch of other companies that have been selling off that have been pulling down the tech sector. Starship didn't launch yesterday because of not all their engines lit, but that's fine because it didn't explode. Then you have all this data, especially this housing data. Building permits way down, but it looks like there's some housing starts that were up, so I guess they're getting to building. But man, oh man, oh wait, hold on, probably revised from okay. But anyway, yeah, this is just not the greatest series of economic data on a day like this. So I think definitely it's certainly pulling the market way down. But we're out of that consolidation that we talked about. So this looks like the direction we're headed for the time being. Let's take a look and see where we go in the SPY here. So now we are trading underneath the 50-day SMA. We don't have any closes beneath that. So I think that would be something to watch for. Maybe we with this open. So this gap down here, we try to trade back up. We'll see if that ends up happening. I don't think all the big institutions are ready to have this market roll over yet. What do you think?
No, I don't think that. I had said here this morning when I first took a look at the SPY chart before you got on, is that We actually should have some pretty sticky support. The 743.61, you want to call it 743.5, that 50-day moving average. You're absolutely right about the close. Let's see where we close. But also, looking ahead, 740 has been tough resistance and now some pretty sticky support. So let's see if we end up maybe trading down, testing that, and bouncing, and see where we close here. I don't want to write anything off just yet. All right, what stock can I throw up here and have 13 break down the chart on? I did see that AbbVie got mentioned, ABBV. Do you want to do that, or should we wait for a different one, 13?
You could put that up. I'll take a look at it.
Okay. And then there, Anne-Marie, thank you. Demand structure sits near 740 in the SPY. Perfect. So our chart confirming exactly what Anne-Marie is seeing there as well. Netflix, you guys we've literally looked at Netflix 7 times here. EKS, I think you're poking us in the ribs there. I'll be honest with you. I'll go with AbbVie here. We could probably do Palantir next. I'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good. So AbbVie, looking at the chart here, we did get a rebound off the 20-day SMA. That has been a good area of support. We also have a golden cross that occurred earlier this month. On looks like July, let's say July 9th, we got that cross. So it looks like we could continue higher. Let me look at a larger time frame here. So we are putting in a bit of a flag formation, a bull flag formation, I guess we could call it that. There is this, possibility that we kind of like stagger down like we have over the past couple of weeks. Because we hit a high in June, and then we went lower the following week, climbing back up this week. Could see some lower prints next week, and if we do, I would be looking at 240 as a support area with, I guess, 235 to 240 as the support area there on a weekly chart. That's just what it looks like if we do, get a little bit lower prints. That's where I would expect to see some support kick in. You do have the 50 and 20-week SMAs down in the 220s. Not really sure if we're going to get down there. I don't think that's the case quite yet. Let me look at a monthly chart. So we did. We are kind of riding up this 20-month. That's actually looking pretty good. So we haven't really closed. We haven't closed underneath the 20-month SMA since looks like November of 2023. That's quite a while ago. So that's another moving average that carries a lot of strength to keep the price going up. So if we do come back in and we go underneath those 220s, this is going to be one of the areas of support I would also look for. But to me, it looks like this is just gearing up to go higher in the coming weeks, I would say. I do like that golden cross, even though it's kind of oscillating the 50 and the 200. So we'll see if that goes hard. There's also a trend line that I see here as well. I'm just seeing all kinds of stuff as I go.
So this was a good stock to look at then.
It was interesting. I don't know enough about it, but I'm just looking at the chart, and if I had to guess where this upside target is, it'd probably be about 280. If you want to, I didn't draw that trend line, although that one looks pretty good as to identify the breakout that we got. That we're currently in, but I started with like the high of October of 2024, and just draw it through September of 25, and it lines up pretty well with March of 25 as well. So that whole trend line there is kind of giving me an upside target of about 280. Yeah.
Okay. I think this was. Oh, you're right. It was October 31st. Got it. So I did the exact same trend. Okay. Great stuff there on AbbVie. Did you want to do Palantir next? Let's see.
Sure. Let's do Palantir.
Let's do Palantir. Perfect.
Let's see here, because this is another one that I'm still kind of waiting for my target and not giving up. That we'll see it. So this one is struggling to hold over the 50-day SMA, and looks like we couldn't even get back up to 142. That's one of the areas that I have marked off here for the longest time. So the 50-day SMA, that's currently the resistance I'm seeing. We spent a few days above it, and then we just lost it this morning. So I would watch for a recapture. This is also in a bit of a consolidation area.
Yeah, sure is.
So there may be some support, under 130. You have the 20-day SMA that's also been providing some support since the price was recaptured at the beginning of the month. So there is some support here that
I got big time support at 125. like big time support at 125.
It really does look like that, because every time, even going back to the beginning of the year, that's where it looks like the support has been, with the one exception that we lost it in June and then we recaptured it just as the July month was starting. So I think that's kind of what I would lean on towards, is that at the same time is that 125 area is support. And if we lose that, then, we do have other levels of support on the way down. But I think losing that kind of gives us a path to 90.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there, Palantir. We're about to open, flipping over to the main workspace. Good luck here today, folks. Let's have a great Friday.
All right. And ding.
And ding. Let's go.
All right.
Let's go. Okay, SPY opened up here. 242 looks like is the level that is trying to hold. We'll see if it does hold here. I am definitely going to wait out at least the first 5 minutes, probably closer to the first 15.
Yeah, I wonder if this week is going to kind of be the pullback that everybody was looking for. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here because of how quickly these market downturns have resolved themselves in recent years. So just kind of thinking out loud, what if we see like a really quick move down and a quick move back up by next week? That'd be something else.
Market broke 742 here. We'll see what it ends up doing. CJMB, this was one of our movers. That is ticking up slowly towards that VWAP. We talked about that.
Looks like S dot is through that trend line. Maybe it wants to, it's whipping around. PMAX trying to hold above that 65 EMA. V, we're going to get going here with V. It's got to get beyond the 65 EMA on the 5 minute. It's currently the resistance it's dealing with.
The market is trying to hold 742. We'll see here. Let's take a look at Netflix and see what Netflix is doing.
Down 11%. So let's see if we get, and there's that breakout in V.
Oh boy, Netflix going lower here. So V, huh? VEE.
Yeah, that we broke out of that. Looks like CJMB is trying to make a move up to its VWAP where it's going to try and break out of that. Seller in the way at 132. Volume expansion will get through that. Let's see if we get that expansion. We're going to need it because that's a large seller in the way there. SLND lower. That dropped.
Mang saying, any thought on Tesla, Ryan? No, not really. Not today. I'll let you know if I come up with anything. I will watch some of the options there on Tesla, but this to me looks like this is just going to trade with the market. So I think watching what the indice is going to do will probably give you a good idea of what Tesla's going to do here today. I don't necessarily have any Tesla specific thoughts or trade plans for this here today. I'll let you know if I see anything on the options though. 63 to 61 is my target on Netflix. Boom. Anne-Marie validating what I had said earlier about 63 being a key level there.
Nice. Yeah, I see, I can still see the case that everybody was talking about for under 60, like down to 55, but sure, 63. I was looking for 70, so I'm already happy.
Anne-Marie, let me know if I can get your opinion on something. I'm seeing two call sweeps here on Amazon, ticker AMZN.
Interesting. There it goes.
One of them is a January monthly for 370, and the other is a December monthly for 410. That's December of 2028 and January of 2028. I wonder if this is part of a spread. Total of about $900,000 between those two transactions. Unsure if they're related.
So SLND, CJMB, not really great movers, but of course, what do you need movers for when you have S dot and B?
Well, those are your movers.
These are the only movers. These are the only ones really giving a great trade here. And it's funny because we kind of outlined what we were looking for, especially with S dot. S dot, we had a clear trend line that we were just waiting for it to break, and we got that.
Anne-Marie, to make that a little bit easier, I slacked you the two transactions in question, so we don't have to remember numbers just right off the top of your head, you can actually take a look at it. Here's S.13. Wow, bang.
Joe, I liked your joke earlier about the reverse split. No, that doesn't mean that we're getting back together or with the ex-girlfriends. But if you don't see any safety in any sectors, I think it's more about kind of individual names. The ones that have great free cash flow, the ones that pay dividends, especially the ones that have been really beaten up, that have both those figures, and now their dividend yield is very, very attractive. Those are the ones I think that are getting the most attention. So those are the ones I've been focused on. It's going to be a lot of consumer facing names, and you're going to see a lot of the the cyclicals, the staples, and the healthcare names. I think get a lot of attention for the time being.
Yeah, and remember also, when it comes to dividend pairs, we've actually talked about Starwood quite a bit on this. This is one of Tim Melvin's best or most confident picks. I actually think this is his largest position too. Nonetheless, though, we talked about this being under 17 and 13. I think that you had said maybe a week or two ago that it really looked like any buy under 17 ended up being pretty good. Yeah. Starwood went down to 1640. Guess what? We're back above 17 now. So if people are moving into more of those dividend names because some of these stock prices have been depressed, this is showing exactly what you're talking about so far.
I was picking it up under 17, and now I'm I think from the low that we had was 1634. I'm just 12 cents away from that in my cost. So yeah, I like picking it up under 16, or I'm sorry, under 17.
Nice job. Chipotle, that's bouncing here today. Another consumer facing name, just to kind of steel man what 13 was talking about. Kraft Heinz here today, straight up out of the gate, 2.5%. Looks like we pegged that one.
Oh, yes, we did that one. Let's look at Dollar General, because that one's, here we go. So 130 knocking on that door.
Lucid, what a move, Lucid, since those the bankruptcy rumors that were rebutted, I guess. This is actually above yesterday's intraday high. This straight up out of the gate, 7.75% here on Lucid, ticker LCID. SpaceX, by the way, we'll check in on that. I know 13, you had mentioned that the mission got scrubbed. Yes. Like I said, we actually talked about this ahead of time, that these, and we even said, I said specifically to you that even if something happens that's not great, but it's not actually bad. Like they scrubbed the mission. Like could have been worse, right? The whole thing could have exploded. That would have been a worse thing. They scrubbed it. Guess what? We're still seeing that negative reaction here in SpaceX. This is now 12 points below its IPO price.
Yeah, because this was going to be like the first launch since they IPO'd. So this was kind of sailing off into the sunset for them, I guess you could say. But it didn't light, and it looks like they are going to have to replace a couple of the engines. What happened is that when they, if you were watching, you probably saw that it ignited and then it immediately shut down. And what had happened is that 4 of the engines didn't light, so they had to scrub the mission and go and figure out what was wrong. And they're replacing 2 of the engines, so it's looking like it will. They'll try again next week. Probably Tuesday, Wednesday, just depends on how fast they get the engines replaced and rolled back out there. Usually it takes a couple of days to roll out and stack everything. But this is what we expected, and I still expect there'll be if we didn't get the launch or if something went wrong, certainly it did. So we do have a lot of share dilution upcoming now. We do have the Q2 earnings that's supposed to happen next month, and then 35% of the shares that are of the 40% that are going to be not owned by Elon Musk, 35% of that 40% will unlock from August until just before their Q3 earnings, which is supposed to be in November. So toward the end of October, they have a staggered release period for or unlock period for their restricted shares. For 70 days, 90 days, 105, 120, and 135 after the IPO date. So lots of share dilution coming. And by the end of the year, you're going to have it up to 40% of the entire outstanding shares unlocked. And that'll be everything that Elon Musk doesn't own. Right now, we're only trading with 5% of the entire outstanding shares.
Okay. Stack, by the way, we talked about this one yesterday. This did rip yesterday. Look, ripped in the pre-market today. Now it pulled downside halt. Careful on this one. That's STAK. Be very, very careful. Also, SLND, it is in that fair value gap that we talked about, and the bottom of that fair value gap actually aligns quite nicely with the VWAP. Let me redraw it on this chart here for you. Not in it, but definitely something to watch here. Got that right here to here, and look at that. Look at that. SLND. We'll see if that holds and gives a trade. Not in it myself. Still waiting for everything to pull here. This definitely looks bloody out there.
Well, S-Stock pulled after hitting that 25 and change high. It's now down back to the trend line, getting support from that. But V, on the other hand, is saying we riding and is just continuing to go higher.
Right, that's right at its pre-market highs, by the way, on V. Wis mentioning Trug. Here's Trug, True Golf Holdings. This is straight up out of the gate. 180 is your resistance level there. SPY did bounce from 741. We are approaching the 9 EMA and the VWAP, which are kind of stacked on top of each other. As far as like the trading strategy for this is, so yes, we are in the first trade window here. No, I've not got any signal from the indicator on a buy here. But I would actually be okay being patient, waiting this out and seeing if this is just kind of a head fake back to the VWAP or if we might actually have a bounce on our hands here today. I think it's probably a little bit too early to make that judgment right now and feel good about it, but something to watch.
Looks like V after hitting 46.90, pulling back here, coming down with some consolidation in the pre-market, also getting support from its VWAP. So that was too funny not to say. This is getting so it's getting support right now. We might see it hold here or go sideways for a moment before it really chooses direction, but looking like it's trying to turn around here. Same thing with S-Stock, getting some support from that trend line that we drew. The volume is starting to wane here a little bit, so keep that in mind. Meanwhile, Starwood climbing higher, new session high, 715.
Giddy up. X-ray higher as well. Giddy up. Costco higher as well. More consumer-facing stuff. SLND.
Yep.
SLND bounce off the bottom of the fair value gap, aligned quite nicely with the VWAP. Bang, bang, bang. I would say, sorry, really quickly, I would say if this gets to 115, that is absolutely going to be your first take profit area. If you wanted to also look at a trend line here, you could do that as well. These are not magic things, but definitely if you took that, I would definitely consider booking.
Yeah, and 117 is the resistance. It was the resistance in the pre-market. There's a seller stacked up heavily right there at 117. So we're going to need to see some big volume to get through that. It'll take us up to 120.
Okay, taking a look here at the SPY. Guess what, folks? How about being patient? We bounced right back up to that VWAP. I told you, hey, I want to see if we can actually get above this. Nope, rejected. So we are still in a downtrend here. Anne-Marie saying risk off movement. That is what we are seeing, 100%. How is bouncing though?
EKS mentioning Tractor Supply Company. It's up 2.5%.
GSCO, customer facing stuff, 13.
Yep. This is another one that I also picked up either earlier this month or at the end of last month. But I liked all the sideways consolidation that was having here since May. I felt this established there she goes again. I felt this established a bottom pretty well here. So now we're trading over the 50-day SMA, and yeah, I think this is looking pretty good. We have the resistance from the beginning of the month at, what is this, like 32 and change. So that's what I want to see recaptured.
SLND right back up to almost that trend line, and down we go. Hopefully you booked. Also, I got asked about Tesla earlier, seeing a bunch of put flow here on Tesla as that continues to pound the lows. Price candles, red. Volume candles, red. Put buying, equivalent to red. So a lot of bearish flow here, Tesla. Alliance says PayPal should continue moving up. Let's take a look at PayPal and see what that's doing. Not moving up. We are actually down by 1.4% here today on PayPal. Yesterday's intraday high would be an interesting level there, 57.5 about. See if we can catch a bounce here. Market looks like it wants to probe lower.
Yeah, and it's looking like out of all of these that we were trading, only or talking about, only V really kind of holding up here for now. It's getting support from VWAP, kind of struggling to get beyond the pre-market highs, and volume is starting to slow down here, but it doesn't look like it's finished yet. I think if we lose VWAP and start trading underneath that, it might be time to say, okay, this thing is probably done for at least the morning.
VIX, that is trading higher here too, 1932 on the VIX. We'll see if we get a 20 print here today.
A lot of these names that were part of the themes that we were trading earlier in the year, all just kind of coming in as a result of the rotation.
Yep.
They're all getting pretty oversold. And, I don't think that they're done forever. Oh, wow, look at this move in B. That's a big move that just happened.
I'll go to it here, but I want to mention this because several people are talking about Velo. Look, this is one of those stocks, really high flyer. It's really kind of come back in. This has more downside here. I did end up buying some of this back. I will continue to add, but I'm going to be patient here. I don't think there's any rush to go get this.
No, and this is coming down to a previous support area around 850. Its RSI is getting pretty low, so we'll see what happens when we get down there. Man, V is flying right now.
Okay, we will look at V. Sorry.
It is absolutely flying. As a matter of fact, shame on me for not drawing this trend line, but now it looks like we may just actually end up, going towards that. So after hours high, pre-market high, there's your target.
So I think it's not the intraday high from yesterday and the pre-market high.
No, I'm just going from the after hours high and the pre-market high. Otherwise, I mean, you could do that too, but it looks like we may have already gone past that.
Yeah. So I think you're talking about this then.
Yes, because the one that you're talking about, if we use the regular session high and the pre-market high, that we just broke over.
Yep.
And now we're coming back underneath. So if we do manage to go over the trend line you're talking about, then I think there's a much greater chance that we see the trend line that I'm talking about.
Okay, and guess what, folks? SPY. So we rolled back down. We held that same area. Now we're bouncing again. This time we are through the VWAP, but we are stopping at the 9 EMA. So we'll see what we can do here. Do we get stopped again and probe lower? Market is trying to hold that area. Don't know if I feel great about it though.
Yeah, and
Baiynd, you just make sure you get to your destination without getting into a car crash, buddy. I know that you've got the Scrooge McDuck money bin out in the backyard where you can swim through all your profits. So if you don't trade one day, I think you'll be all right. Choose life and have a great weekend.
Yeah, and just real quick on Bello, I mean, this is, like you said, a high flyer that really came down, and I still have this, and I'm just, like you said, being patient, waiting for, because one level that was going to be support where I was adding, didn't hold up. So now I'm waiting for the next level of support to add. And that's going to be down at the level I said earlier, around 850.
Okay, SLND rebroke the fair value gap and the VWAP. So that trade is over. SPY looks like it is trying to continue to move here. Just got another buy signal here on SPY. I'm not going to take that though. Still don't feel great about this.
It's crazy with V here. It's just crazy. This is and it looks like we're going to hit the trend line. Wow. It's going to
unreal move here on V. You're right.
It's going to, it could halt. Well, it looked like it was for a second there. It's moving again.
SPY still bouncing. Okay, one of the other things we should look at here, S&P 500 futures. If that can cross VWAP and hold above it, maybe we can get this bounce to have some more legs.
Every time it looks like V is about to halt, it just it gets moving again.
Shenanigans, I say.
Shenanigans. But I mean, I'd still like to see it hit that trend line. That'd be amazing if it does. I just gave my opinion on Billo. I still think it's a great company, and it's very strategically important to SpaceX and Anduril and a bunch of others. It's just one of those stocks that's out of favor right now because it's part of that theme, and there's a lot of profit taking and big exits. But I don't think this stock's going to zero.
And use this, right? Use patience to your advantage. Use the low prices to build your position if, in fact, you do like this long term. And I do. And I just don't have too much of it. So, yeah, I mean, my average, by the way, on Velo, 1147. So I am down, what, a point and a half? But I'll play that slow.
Why is security going higher? Why? I think that's off the heels of was it IBM? That pulled them down. What tech company was it that made the cybersecurity comments? I'm trying to think because I thought it was IBM.
Was it IBM? Let me see.
There was a reason we started getting cybersecurity stocks to be on the move. I can't remember the exact reason, but I thought it was comments regarding IBM. When they made their, maybe it wasn't them, it was another company. I can't remember which one it was. It was IBM. Okay, thanks. So when they had their preliminary report that they put out, I think that was there were some comments in there about cybersecurity. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Thanks, what was it? Their Red Hat division accelerating? Because that was 11% growth, and that was one of the bright spots of the entire prelim report that we got. That might have been what it is, 13.
Let's see. There's a headline here. It basically explains it. Yeah, okay. So Krishna, who was, I think, the CEO, they added a crucial sentence, apparently saying, in addition, clients were distracted with rapidly evolving industry-wide cybersecurity concerns in the quarter. And the phrase is implying that CISOs and boards are reaching a wave of threats or incidences, reassessing risk posture and diverting attention and potentially budget towards dedicated security solutions. That's why.
Okay, there you go. Good stuff on that, and good memory there. Big B's, register ring for you. Ryan, ISRG 120% winner on the 0 DTE on the earnings IV crush. The spread was so wide you could drive a fleet truck through it. Also, IWM on the regional bank earnings, 150% winner right off the open. Good weekend, touch grass. Ed, I saw you also had IWM calls that worked. Register ring for you as well. Good stuff here, guys. See, even in a market that is down and showing some red arrows, risk off, y'all folks are still finding some stuff. By the way, speaking of the market, SPY bouncing nicely here. We did get back above VWAP. So intraday double bottom down here at 741, held it, recaptured the VWAP, recaptured the 9 SMA, and I did get a sell trim indicator. So if you are playing 0 DTEs, this is a decent sell spot. 117 to 226 on the 743 0 DTE call today so far.
Hey, Steve, no problem. I don't think we really, have gone into detail. We did kind of mention it in passing a little bit, but we're looking at this as a very much needed corrective move in the market. And this is rotation that, we're just, looking at all the high flyers come back in, all the really beat down names get a lot more attention. And as with all pullbacks, corrections, and bear markets, they are, temporary in the grand scheme of things. I think that this, we could see some weakness for a period of time, maybe, the entirety of the summer, a lot of illiquidity and chop. So I don't think that this is going to be necessarily too short term. But this could go on for a little while. I think that toward the end of the year, once we get past the midterms and have a greater idea of what kind of legislation is going to be coming or going forward for the next couple of years, I think that's going to start to turn markets around. We'll see more risk on. So
at a minimum, 13, it should remove some of the uncertainty,
right.
which the market should like. So I'm with you on that without even knowing what's going on. V, not only did it dump hard, Albert, that 8-point pullback downside halt on V.
Yep.
Joe, Ryan, do you think IBM CEO erred in doing the pre-announcement of miserable earnings? How much worse could it have been if they waited until earnings day? So generally speaking, no, I don't think that is an error. I think if you have bad news, one of the best things that you can do is get ahead of it. Remember, the market is always forward-looking. Always forward-looking. If you have bad news, get it out there. Better still if you have a plan to correct that, because then you can start talking about what you're doing to correct what investors already know about. Going back to our uncertainty comment, that should actually help. So no, I don't. Now, if he comes out with earnings and there's something else in there and it's like, okay, why did you do this? Maybe I would have to change my opinion there, but no. And Big Bees, that's a really good way of summarizing this. I am in complete agreement with this comment. Bad news is better early than late.
They had to. They had to do this. They had to do this because as a very, very large company, they are legally required to report material news to shareholders. This is something they did not have a choice to do, in my opinion. They had to do this. They're legally obligated to.
Okay, and that's really good information. But no, Joe, I still maintain I do not think the CEO made an error in doing any of this.
No. It's likely just a situation if they were required to, and they could be sued if they didn't. Yes, V is had a huge pull. I did see that as I was talking. I just
SPY huge bounce, a V bottom, one might say.
Oh man. Let's see what happens when this opens. We are down and halted right about at VWAP. If you had your stops out, you're already out of this, and you're probably fine with the gains that you got. Man, 55, almost 55.50 this went up to.
55.49, in fact.
And we could still see more of this because we haven't really broken down beneath support levels yet. We just had a nasty pull on an illiquid stock that had a massive spread.
Yeah.
So we'll see what ends up happening out of the halt. There may still be more upside. It may continue to pull further. But I think if you do get a pull further, you're going to run into a lot of buyers, a lot of demand zones here, starting around the 44 handle. So we'll see what happens.
Joe, I roundly ignore shareholder lawsuits against those companies. A ton of ambulance chasing lawyers that go after any big price movement. Any takeover, there's always that stuff, unless it's something like material with details, like the Apple, China lawsuits before and things like that. That's much ado about nothing.
While V is halted, you're getting a little bit of volume in some of the other names, like SDOT is starting to try and recover. It's getting up to the trend line we drew again. SLND is trying to get back up to its VWAP. I'm not really confident about this one, the way it's trading and the volume. Need to see some better volume out of that one. CJMB, this is trying to get back above its VWAP.
Yep.
So if we get a capture here, this might be the one to watch for. It looks like 135 could be the next resistance area, and there is a seller at 132. Need to see some volume expansion here to get through all of this, but getting above the VWAP, they might get some more eyes on this.
Yeah, you're right about that. And it does look like this 130 area is an area that it needs to snap through here. I have the VWAP actually marked at 131 in my broker, but 130 here in Pro. So we'll see if they can go through this. A lot of volume crossing on the level 2 there, but hasn't gone yet. They're taking it down, 13.
Yeah.
They're taking it down. We'll see if it's got the strength to go. Okay, there's 130. There's 131. Now let's see if we get some push. We don't know that that's necessarily going to be the case here.
This is the seller that's in the way, the 132 seller. They're chewing away at his shares. Let's see if we can continue with that volume. There we go.
There's 132, 134.
Yep. Come up to 135 resistance.
We'll see what we get there. That CJMBO was actually really timely, 13.
Just watching the chart. Yeah, excellent, Selena. Starwood hitting 1720. Like to see that.
That's why we were adding in the 16s. Also on the 15th, you got paid your dividend. Okay, what else are we looking at? Oh, Velo. So I know a lot of you folks hand-wringing about Velo. Check it out. Almost red to green on Velo.
Yeah.
Man, market still ripping, though. I actually thought we might find some resistance here on the SPY. No, we are continuing to push higher. Continuing. Ondas, nice bounce. Palo Alto still high. Oh, Bitcoin bouncing too. Bitcoin back above 63K. And also, we talked about the VIX earlier. 1950 to high print has pulled from there back down into an 18 handle. Okay.
I don't know what's driving the reversal. I don't see any news. Or maybe it's just, exhaustion. Have had some pretty big moves down in a lot of names recently. I mean, Micron was like, over 35% down. Let me see where we ended up at. So off this high, we came down to about 35.6% from high to low. That may not be enough, but it certainly was quite a bit. How's market volume? All week, it hasn't been that great. It's kind of been
9.5 million shares so far in the first 30 minutes.
It's been an improvement over the end of last week, but still not where I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it consistently. At least over 50 million. I can't believe I'm saying that because that's still terrible.
Yeah, exactly. That's still really low. Market new highs. The Nasdaq is also bouncing. Dow never really. Dow just kind of went straight up.
V, by the way, it unhalted, went lower and halted again. It's now through its VWAP, looking for support at the 65 EMA. This is why we have stops. Meanwhile, we have PMAX trying to get through its 65 EMA. This is another one we drew a trend line for. We could keep our eyes on that one. Volume needs to expand a lot more. This has got really low volume. It's not going to get through that trend line or even the 65 EMA with the volume it's got right now. But if that expands, you might have something here. S-Dot, meanwhile, trying to recapture its trend line. I don't know about S-Dot right now.
Oh, wow.
What's up?
This is not market related, but Brenda Fricker. Do you know who that is? Brenda Fricker is the Irish actress that played the Bird Lady in Home Alone 2.
Oh.
Sadly passed away at 81 today.
Oh, wow. So let's see. That's the rule of three is really happening, isn't it?
Always seems to.
I thought we just had a couple of other folks pass away, unfortunately.
Well, this week, right? It would have started with Lindsey Graham, and then what else? Who else was it? Is that the second or the third? Anyway, the only reason I brought that up is because I have watched Home Alone and Home Alone 2 more times than I could possibly.
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill, that was the other one. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Oh, that was tough.
Yeah, it was. I am definitely going to watch Jurassic Park and Hunt for Red October at some point over the weekend here.
Finish it off with Event Horizon.
Not bad. Why is still ripping?
You're with us now.
745.50. This thing continues to push higher here. What a V bounce. Oh, that's right. And Bonnie Tyler, also Market Sniper. That's right.
Yeah, if there's anybody that we missed, just let us know. It hasn't been a great week for some fantastic celebrity actors and congressmen. Yeah, Sam Neill, exactly.
So I had said earlier when we first came on here, one of the things we're going to look for here is a bounce. This bounce, a tad ferocious. And I'll tell you what, this is just Mark Putrino talks all of the time about market psychology and how you can see it in the charts. And I'm sitting here watching this SPY just scream straight higher here. And I'm thinking, why didn't you buy that initial bounce? Well, two reasons. Number one, we actually made an intraday double bottom at the same level. The second move, the second time we tested that level and moved higher, the move higher was violent. So it actually almost felt like a chase. But realistically, my psychology was very bearish because of what we were looking at from the morning action, all of the stuff that's going on, the recent pullback. That psychology definitely played a role in keeping me out of this massive, massive SPY bounce. So the takeaway from this is, again, if you can make this more mechanical and remove your own emotions from it, you're probably going to be better off. Congrats to anyone that is hitting this massive bounce here this morning.
You're right, Anne-Marie. They're the same thing. It's just that we admire others more than some. But yeah, that SPY, that big gap down, it just, the market has this tendency, this desire to want to fill gaps as they occur. Just look at every time that we've gapped down, there's always at least an attempt to try and fill it, even if they don't.
Ryan's massive thought of the day, mental blocks. Man, oh man. Find a way to remove them. That will really, really help you.
If they do virtual reality Legos, that's what I hope they call it.
Mental blocks?
Mm-hmm. You can use your mind to play Legos. I hope they call it mental blocks. Anyway, oh, wow. Some of these names from yesterday really coming in, too.
The memory names also bouncing pretty well here, at least Micron is. Possible going red-green here on Micron. Same deal on SanDisk.
Wow. Okay, so there goes. So V's done, or maybe it bounces after this halt that it's in. This is the third halt down now. Gave everything back. It's actually down closer to the end of day print from yesterday, where yesterday the price closed yesterday. So we'll see if there's some support coming here. If we get a reversal, this is 3 down moves. I would expect there to be a bounce coming soon.
Knarp says fear and loathing or fear of missing out. I feel a little lightheaded, Knap. Maybe you should drive.
We can't stay here. This is backcountry.
Oh, God, that movie is so good. That is so good. The one-liners from that movie are just endless. It's absolutely endless. Got to get some GD golf shoes or we'll never get out of this muck. Yeah, so that ended up moving higher. That actually might be able to take out its intraday highs. This I'm just going to skip. I'm going to avoid all of these kind of small things here. Mm-hmm. And Velo, yeah, potential red-green coming on Velo as well. Ondas, that pull out of the open, that got bought back up. So decent bounce here. Bitcoin still bouncing as well. Amazon, decent bounce. Apple still above 330. Oh, sorry, 329 now.
SLND trying to get back above $1. SDOT kind of not able to recapture the trend line yet. Looking like it could come back down to the 65 EMA for another test, if not a fall through.
Knap, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is the name of the movie that I quoted from your Fear and Loathing comment.
Oh, yeah. And I don't think Benicio del Toro's ever been that heavy.
No, but man, he's so good in that movie.
He was great in that movie. Oh, wow. It looks like some of these quantum names are really turning around, too. So maybe they did have enough of a sell-off. One name that I am really seriously taking a look at here that I really do like, and it's got a good growth angle ahead of it, is Carmen Holdings.
KRMN, right?
Yeah, this had it IPO'd early last year. It had a great run. It's sold off. It's been kind of finding a bottom. And this is a big strategic partner to Anduril, as well as a lot of the other defense names. They do weapons testing, rocket and missile testing. So they are continuing to get business, and I've got them. I got the levels right now, 44 and 60. That's kind of where the range is that Carmen is in right now, and just keeping an eye on it. Want to see it get back above its 50-day SMA. That currently seems to be the big resistance that it's dealing with. But if we do start to turn around, I'm very interested in this company. I think it's going to be good going forward. Okay. They raised their guidance. We'll see how that pans out with their next earnings, but they are expecting to do like over $720 million this year, and they're got a $6 billion valuation.
This bounce just Unbelievable. SPY still near the highs here. I will say, if you were not feeling great, if you were a little bit skeptical of this like I was, I do not recommend chasing the bounce higher here, especially on a Friday. If anything, wait for it to set up again or look for something that has a setup. Don't chase a big move like this higher that only ends in despair. I am starting to see some call flow on some of the tech names like Palo Alto and NVIDIA now. That actually changed because right out of the open, we actually saw more put buying. And then, Ed, you had asked about Path. Couldn't fit it in there when you had asked about it. You were looking for levels here on Path. So this is interesting. UiPath, this is another AI name. This had a nice reversal from its move yesterday. Let's see what this looks like on a daily chart here. Path, I think the one big level that you're looking at going to be right in here, 13. To me, 13 is going to be a huge level for Path. 13, you tell me if you agree with my 13 level here. This actually looks pretty important on Path.
13 analyzing. Yeah, it looks like $13 is a pretty big level there. It's just above the 200 and 500-day SMAs. Got resistance at that area back in the beginning of June. 1320 was the high there. Let me look at some other charts real quick. You have so I think I would be watching that 50-week SMA. That looks like a moving average we can focus on. In addition to that 13 level, you can put a line across that as well. But I think getting above that moving average, we also need to see it happen, and it would happen with a capture of 13. The 20-month SMA also kind of interesting. Getting above that gives us a path to 13. I mean, we're facing some resistance that's preventing, in underneath the $13 handle. We're getting resistance from these other areas. I agree with the level. I think that's certainly a better price action above 13. Volume's been improving over the past year as well in UiPath.
Real quick here, C Boogie. This is a good question. I got asked this question yesterday, and I still don't have a ton of research done on this, but you're basically asking about the new IPO STDN, which is Standard Nuclear. It's a nuclear fuel company. So if you were into the whole Oklo SMR nuclear theme for energy, this is more kind of a thing behind the thing play with this, because this doesn't do reactors itself. Instead, it actually does fuel for those reactors. And so this would actually make for a long-term infrastructure play on that if you like it. Now, I don't know much about it yet. It just IPO'd, and they actually had to downsize their offering. If you recall, when we looked at this yesterday, I believe 13, you had mentioned that yesterday, that they downsized their offering. So I'm actually not terribly surprised to see some weakness here. The nuke theme is weak as it is, a downsized offering, a pretty poor tape. All of that kind of leads to some of the early action that we've seen here on STDN. Excuse me, I think I got the ticker wrong there. And I think one of the things that you can watch for if you're going to look for this long term, are they actually able to convert backlog into revenue? If they can, you might have something here to kind of go with that theme. But again, this is just very top level. I haven't really done any deep dive into this, so take that all with a grain of salt. Be sure to do your own research on this as well. If anyone does look into this, we've talked about the nuke theme quite a bit. I'm interested in your findings on this one, though. So good mention nonetheless, C Boogie.
PMAX tried to get over that trend line, still working through it. Got a couple minutes left in this candle. It looks to me like this 215 to 220 area is going to be the resistance it's going to deal with here if we do move over that trend line.
Okay.
Meanwhile, SDOT trying to get support from the 65 EMA. Losing that would not be great. I think that would mean that we go under 20. We would go under 20. And I think that we could end up falling down towards 1825, maybe even lower than that. SLND, this is back above its VWAP. There may be some more upside here with this one. I also see a trend line going from the pre-market into the regular session. That'll be something that we can draw a trend line for. That should give us it takes a trend line to about 110 if we moved up here soon. But now it looks like we're getting some weakness in SLND.
Okay.
CJMB, this hasn't really done a whole lot this morning. We had one pop above the VWAP, came right back beneath. V trying to recover, recapture at 65 EMA. It popped above it, couldn't close above it. We still have about a little more than a minute left in this candle.
Well, let's take a quick look at Tesla. So that did bounce. That is still lower by 2.25%, but decent bounce here. How about Netflix? Where do we get there? Okay, so we did not see, 65 seems to be the low. We're basically right back to where we stopped after the earnings print yesterday. So I do think this 68 to 70 level actually represents some resistance here. Let's see what happens in terms of this closing, but Netflix on this bounce, possible resistance area now.
My future premium whiskey maker just got selected by
what?
OPPT. This is Ocean Power Technologies.
But the whiskey, I'm more interested in the whiskey angle there. What was that all about? You have a premium whiskey maker that you have not told me about?
No, I think he's talking about if this thing goes crazy that I get a bottle of whiskey from him. Selected by U.S. government for further assessment of its maritime drones, because the Ocean Power or the what is it, the WAM-V or whatever it is, they have their buoys. I think that's what it refers to. I don't know what other maritime drones that Ocean Power does, but my whole thing on them was their buoys were able to track vessels, detect mines. Things that could be very useful in Strait of Hormuz, as well as for homeland security. I would need more. I need to look into this some more if it's talking about maritime drones.
Spy another move up. Sorry, 13.
I thought that was another. There was another company that was involved in that kit. KITT. I thought that was more of the drone one, but Ocean Power. We'll see if we'll see what comes out of that. I'd have to do some more reading into what this deal is here with the U.S. government selecting OPTT. All right, looks like V's trying to recover. A lot of these trying to recover. Palmax after getting rejected, the trend line coming down. SDOT trying to get back up to VWAP. SLND now trading over VWAP, coming up to that trend line we were just talking about. What is SPY doing? I'm still trying to fill the gap. Federal aid. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the market bounce is impressive. Wasn't necessarily important.
Federal Aviation Administration agency says it needs another $10 billion from Congress for air traffic control overhaul. What for? What overhaul?
Modernizing the air traffic control, probably hiring more controllers.
Would be
my guess. That's something that Duffy's been talking about for a bit.
Well, so what are those providers that the FAA would be looking at for that overhaul? What's in the overhaul? What companies can we look at? Because $10 billion is the kind of amount that it sounds like it's going right towards some of these companies that we're trading. Just don't know which one. Oh yes, Zach, thank you. IDAI has a virtual investor meeting today.
Yeah, and so the story behind that, first of all, that stock, which is just, let's face it, there's no other way to put it. This stock has been an utter disappointment since when we first started talking about it. But seems to be that there's reason that maybe this is turning around. Now, I'll just tell you this, Zach, this thing goes anywhere near 4 or 5. I'm going to exit and wait for reentry. Maybe I'll hold a couple of hundred shares just to see in case it moons to 20, like V or something like that. But I'm not anticipating that. The backstory here, though, is that they couldn't even get enough votes to get a shareholder meeting in the past. And so now they're finally doing one for updates. So I am hoping there's going to be good updates in there. Maybe it's enough to drive the stock higher, but at least from where this company was before, the fact that they're even having this meeting can be viewed as a positive. Again, caveat, what do they say? If he comes out talking about nonsense in that, or there's nothing good in there, maybe it won't matter. But just know they couldn't really do this before because they didn't have the interest or the votes. Now they can. Yeah, Zach, I don't think that's a bad idea now. Because 4, I'm assuming you're in under 4, so you're going to get some profit on that initial move, and then you're going to have a trailer position that's effectively free for you. I think that's a really good tactical way of handling it.
So just looked real quick to see what this air traffic overhaul is, what companies are involved. Really only, I think, one might be a publicly traded company. Well, I know what it is, RTX. Otherwise, you have these private firms like Peraton, Indra, and Aerospace Intelligence that are also working with the FAA. And Indra is actually a Spanish firm that's partnering with RTX to replace up to 612 radar systems by June 2028. So RTX, that should be that might be the one to watch for the FAA overhaul. If there's others involved with that, I'm not sure. Garmin is in the FAA deal. Okay, I'll need to do some more digging, but I wasn't aware of that. But it certainly is climbing just as that news came out a little bit there. Doesn't show up on the news feed, but there is something that now Garmin may be more of something that you find in the aircraft. I don't know about part of the FAA overhaul. Maybe it is. I don't want to say it's not because I haven't looked into it as much as you might have.
Velo, red to green.
But yeah, RTX, that's certainly one of the ones that's mentioned here in the FAA overhaul. And you said which one was red to green?
Velo.
Yeah, it's back above 10. Kind of had a little bit of a bottoming area around 975. It's still see if we get to 850. I don't know if we're turning around for good here. Yeah, all those different themes. How are the drones doing? How's Ondas doing? Is Ondas coming back?
Yeah, well, I mean, how's it doing? Well, let's put it in context. It's been cut in half over the recent history here, but today pretty much got back all of that drop, or most of the drop here in the pre-market. Really needs to get to red green. We'd be looking at what, 660? So another 10, 15 cents. Go red green.
Okay. If this goes to 6, that could be the spot where it turns around. You've got several things going for you there. That was formerly a resistance area. We had a breakout over 6. It's also where the 20-month SMA is coming up to. 6 looks like a pretty interesting spot. So if we don't recover today and we end up continuing lower next week, keep an eye out for 6. Looks like SLND is still trying to recover. So I'm gonna time with 105.
Eric, you were asking for some levels here on ASTS. I actually am seeing some call flow here. One of the levels I think that we were waiting for on ASTS was like this 50-51. We never quite got down there. I think the next level that you would really need to recapture for further upside, probably 63.
We could turn around pretty soon. I mean, I do like the 50, psychological spot. I have a trend line that gives me a level of about 47 if we went down there today as a support area. Why does this trend line look so weird? But anyway, that's where I've got this trend line at. We'll see what happens with that. But to me, it doesn't look like there's going to be there could be some more downside, but I don't think there's going to be a whole lot more, or we're going to be into some pretty oversold territory. That's what my expectation would be. If there's more downside, it's probably like another $10 lower.
Oracle, this is trading higher here today, but not enough to really make any change on the daily chart.
Joe, if IBM pushes to 220, I could make a case that it could also go to 240. I think the bigger resistance is at 240. It seems like market's trying to figure out what to do next. Lots of sideways price action I'm starting to see.
Yeah, and that SPY rip, that's finally let me pull it up here just to make sure, but it looks like that's finally slowing down. Oh, or it was. Maybe we push again here and make a move through 747.
It would be wild if we close this gap here today. Now we aren't too far away from hitting the wick from yesterday. If we want to consider that closed, then that's fine. But we also need to get to the real body of this yesterday's candle, and that's going to be up above 750, almost 751. So still a ways to go if we're going to completely fill that gap today. But to me, it looks like 748 is going to be a little bit of a resistance area.
Waiting for Anne-Marie's take on the market. I'll start with that. I'll ask her outright what her take is on the market, both, I guess, for like the near term and also today, Zach. I'll make sure I get that for you before we dive into the actual options, or the individual names, I should say.
Summer months, it's going to be choppy. We're July, so let's see here. We are, what's interesting is that we are still green on the month, at least for now. We kind of opened red today on the month, but now we're above the month's open, so we're green again. That's going to be 745 that we opened the month at. So if we close the month underneath there, we close red. If we close above, we're green, and we're looking for what, like 3 to 4% the month to end. Is that about what it was?
The seasonality, 3.39% for SPY. Sorry about the delay there. I was reading something else.
No problem. So all we've really seen here in terms of price action, we haven't really seen more than 1.4% upside move in the SPY. And then today happened.
SPY only down 0.5% now after that big rip.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you, Joe. So 220s we hit yesterday in IBM.
Keep it simple. Thinking 759 on the SPY. Chris said I've made more than a few bets that we break above 754 today. Good Lord, that would be a big move.
Just what on like just an overshoot to the downside, or are you waiting for some news that's going to pull us back up? I'm just kind of curious because the 748 area does look like that's going to provide some level of resistance. We've been getting support from that level all week. And when we get support like that for that prolonged period of time, it kind of makes me, wonder if we're going to have the volume to get through that former area of support. That might actually be where a lot of people want to sell. So I'm just wondering what's going to get us back up to that level today. That would be a massive engulfing candle if we did.
Yeah, Zach, same deal with me. My portfolio rebounded considerably. I mean, I'm down like $200, but it was way worse earlier. So not the end of the world here. Again, market is a mechanism of moving money from the impatient to the patient. Be the patient.
Yeah, but patients are also in hospitals.
Yeah, not that kind of patient. EKS, yeah, I saw Herbert shot a 62. Looks like Sam Burns tied him and also shot a 62 this morning. Palo Alto new highs. Bitcoin still holding near its intraday highs. So some of this strength not evaporating really quickly. Maybe I would become a day trader. Do you like your hair? I would say if you like your hair, I would not do that. I will say day trading in small size, and I'm talking like 5-10 contracts at a time with the zero DTEs is fun. It is exhilarating. I don't think that this is really what's going to move me to the next income level. I think it's going to be bigger, more convicted, longer term trades than some of these smaller scalps. But at least in the moment, it's fun. And if you can develop a system that you can build on that, just start stacking gains. No, I have no hair left. Okay, well then you're all right then.
Oh.
Good nap.
Okay, so Farsman just responding that it's massive overselling could lead to this big rebound here that takes us back up. Yeah, if we get all that, I mean that'd be fantastic. Still have a concern about 748, but we have a whole rest of the day ahead of us, and there's that leaves a lot of room for news that could just drive this market way up. Maybe we get some kind of headline or print about Iran that completely changes the market attitude. But that would be speculation. I need to see something happen first.
Fair enough. 13. Any other closing words for the group? Although that was pretty good right there.
Well, you know what? It's been one of those weeks, a little bit of a painful week, but nothing we can't heal from. Just make sure we're not completely losing our hats here and just being patient. Knowing what we're looking at here, it's market rotation, and continue trading next week. We'll wait to see if we get some better price action. We still have earnings, a lot of tech earnings coming up. A lot of things can change. So we'll see what we get next week. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the World Cup final between Spain and Argentina.
I'm also going to watch the bronze game between England and France as well.
Yes, a repeat of the 100 Years' War. All right, folks, have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Take care.
All right, 13, take care of yourself. Really good stuff here this week. We'll see what we get next week. 13's departure leaves room for Anne-Marie Baiynd. Let's bring her on. Anne-Marie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing really good, actually. I said at the beginning, double-edged sword here, Anne-Marie. I said at the beginning, hey, watch for a bounce here today because we'll probably get one. And then when the market was actually selling off, when I was in the moment, I was like, I don't really trust it. And now, with hindsight, I'm, of course, being punished. But I have no one to blame but myself. But otherwise, I'm actually doing really, really good. And it's Friday, so I'm happy. The wildfire smoke here is not as bad. So trying to laugh about it all.
Is that why it is that the skies are like that?
Yeah.
Because of the wildfires in Canada?
Yes.
Wow.
And it is all across the northern United States. Actually, yesterday, Detroit had the worst air quality of any city in the world. And that includes India and China.
Wow.
And the air quality index, or AQI, was deemed hazardous. You should not have been out there at all. And I did not. I actually ended up not exercising outside yesterday because it was bad. You literally would go outside, your eyes were burning, you could taste it. It smelled like a bonfire in every direction. It's no good. No bueno.
Wow.
Probably should not have banned the indigenous people from burning the forests up there. But that's just my own take. We won't dive into that.
Yes. Well, we know that that particular department has had a lot of trouble trying to figure out what's going on in general. I think side note, I think a lot of things that we think are supposed to happen govern decisions instead of looking at past to see what actually happens and using it as forward, but neither here nor there. That's
all right. Now, Anne-Marie, I did want to start with something here. We had a direct request, and I'm going to give it to you. Where is it? I'm waiting for Anne-Marie's take on this market. So if you wouldn't mind starting off with your take on the broader market here today, recently, whatever it is.
Okay, so today something really interesting happened on the fade super early, which is why I always say, if you don't know what's going on, zoom out and take a look at your price action. And you could see that we bounced on the 8th at around 740. We bounced on the 2nd at around 740. We bounced that way on the 30th of June. We bounced on right around that zone on the 17th of June, and we bounced on the 12th of June. So big bounce zone. And when a market sells off really hard in the pre-market, two things you want to look for. One, in the opening tick, do you retest any lows? If the answer is yes, don't buy anything. If the answer is no, watch for that 1 minute spike to see all the traders rushing in, and then use the floor of that spike as your frontline support with a little bit of wicks. And what we could see, I did in the morning video for the Benzinga Pro guys and gals, you can see that pullback into that area where I said, hey, listen, I think they're going to try and buy this up. Well, it lost it and then immediately recaptured it. And so that was the 4 a.m. candlestick in SPY. Now look at where we topped. Number one, the low of the prior day. We have not broken it. That's bad. With a huge rush out, we want to see the break of the lower high, of the low of the prior day. As long as we sit under the low of the prior day, sellers are going to come in and try and sell that. Now, they're going to try and do that time after time after time after time until somebody wins. But there's a fight club up there at around 747. Give it a little bit of squish. Gets up above there. It's going to hit a weekly VWAP, monthly VWAP, and then potentially we can close at 750. But as long as we are underneath 747, bounces are going to be sells. And so to me, this is just more sideways slosh for July. And what that means is you look for the deep dips to buy. So today we want to see the opening tick hold. That's 742. If it doesn't hold, 740 is next, 736 after that, and then we get into this noisy patch near 732. Right now, I think the traders are going to sit right in this box. And remember, if the market doesn't scare you out, it'll wear you out.
I love that.
Yeah, stole that from Brian Shannon.
No wonder it's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is really what we're staring down at this juncture. We're above the daily VWAP. We're above that opening range formation. So dips into that zone, likely to find buyers. But you can see, if we go to 5 minute, you can see them just choking at this zone. And let me show it to you. See this topping space? They're trying to come higher, but they can't. Now, it's uptrend. So literally, pullbacks are going to be buys, but it might be a good idea to be patient unless you are just scalping. For those of us who have no hair left, or our hair's completely gray as mine, then, do what you will. So in general, here's what we're staring down though. And this is sort of the big picture. Let me go to the daily and take a look. We got some pretty yucky news over the edge. We know there's repricing on a lot of these. I mean, we still look at your ticker above. Everything is red. Berkshire Hathaway, not red, but a lot of our big tech names are red. Continued rotation. I saw something the other day, and this is important. So it looks like the repositioning into healthcare and potentially financials is sort of a bellwether of who thinks who might win the midterms. And so healthcare normally does well in Democratic control. And so we see a lot of rotation there. Now, it's been really bought up. So you want to look for those dips there to move. If we take a look at how interest rates are affecting these events, if we take a look at the Russell, is that the Russell? Let's do the Russell 3000. It's literally, why is this showing here? Why is Google in the Russell? That shouldn't be there. Okay, so let's take a look at the Russell here. We can see, again, small healthcare, lifting, that's a big batch, financials, pulling off that space. That's about, look for folks like Capital One, Ally, all the ones that service the lower demographic. Uptick in the use of credit cards in lower demographics. We're going to see more defaults, triple C credit expanding. So we're seeing a few little cracks. And what we have to realize is because the market's been really pushed up by these tech-heavy names, the repricing is just going to have the broad index compress. Last thing, if you're looking to buy protection, don't buy protection in the index. Buy protection in your individual stock, because the index is not moving like the stock, right? If you look at, say, something like Micron or something like some of the big names that have just absolutely collapsed, and you look at the Qs, not so much. So you could buy a bunch of protection using the Qs, still not going to help you unless you put that protection deep in the money and it's very expensive. And so that, just one last takeaway from there. All right, so off we go to the charts. We're dancing in between these ranges. This is not a place for us to play around. We're either waiting for the breach, the look above, pull back and hold, or the fade, the look before and recover, or the breakaway from those spaces. But we're going to be caught between 740, where there's a ton of demand sitting down here. All right, that's what we got in the broad look at the market.
That's fantastic. Zach says thank you. We appreciate all of that. Makes a lot of sense too. A lot of really good levels there, Anne-Marie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you have any individual stocks that you wanted to take a look at?
I only, and we saw it 1,000 times, but I only want to look at Netflix when a lot of people were saying, hey, listen, this looks like a nice area to maybe buy a dip. And I was like, please don't do that. Very nice fade. I still believe that the bounces are going to be sell zones, because materially what they had to say is not going to be enough to recover, because so all we're going to have up here at the 70-72 level, just like you said, it being resistance, that's just going to be remorseful buyers that are going to throw in the towel right there. So we're going to put an alert, and if that pops up, consider taking yourself okay, black screen, consider taking a trade short in some measure, either a short call spread or a long put spread, something like that, to give you a nice move back down. That was the only thing that I had to look at.
Okay. I'm glad we at least took a quick look there at Netflix. I know that was one of the big stocks in question here today. I think we could really go anywhere from here now. I would say I'll put the call out to the group here. If you have any stocks, let us know. But otherwise, we'll go to Anne-Marie. She's been doing great at picking them.
So one of the things we could look at is IBM. They report, what is that, Tuesday, Monday?
Now, remember, they gave a preliminary.
Yes. So
sorry for interrupting here, but we actually got this question earlier. Joe was asking, did the CEO make a mistake? Now, we kind of covered the mistake angle. He had new material information. But in your experience, when a company pre-announces poor results and the stock gets pounded, what then does that mean for the actual report itself? By the way, that report is scheduled for Wednesday, the 22nd, after the market closes.
So I think you hit the nail on the head. Data actually show that pre-announcing is better if they have a plan for the future. Pre-announcing is bad if they have more bad news. So it really is going to depend what they say, but the key level to watch is to see what happened at that level for the pre-earnings release, and that number's $227. Now, currently, we're sitting right near that old space. Remember, doesn't our government have a position in IBM? Is it Intel?
It's Intel that they bought a huge stake in.
So the problem here is now software as a service and all of the dovetailing that's happening there, seeing if they're going to move to their own space. It could be that that is the next shoe to drop, at which point it's going to be pretty ugly. But let's take a look to see where the traders are positioning. And so if we look, let's see where they're doing it. It's the 24th, so 2 days before expiry, where are they positioned? 180, 200, 2600, 3000. Okay, so 215 is the current put wall for the traders. And so they were either selling that put thinking things were going to be great, or they were buying it thinking things were going to be awful. Now, the key event is this: whatever side we take as traders, the market makers have to take the other side. If it breaks the wall, they have to continue to sell the stock down so that price action leaves their delta at zero. And so they are continuing to sell down. The 220 is the next space that they had positioned. And so as prices sell down, you know, we're looking at 205, 200, 197, something like that. And so if you're thinking to yourself, wait a second, is there a good trade here that tells me I can do something cheap? I would say yes. Now, full disclosure, this is a trade that it either works and you make a bunch of money, or it doesn't work and you lose everything that you put at stake. So that 227 is where the put wall is. So we've got 225 as a space. And so we can say, hey, if we go, you can do two things. You can buy the put for $2.16, or you can buy a put spread from 216 to 190. Also pretty nice. That's if, hey, listen, we got more bad news for you. You know, we're not going to be a hyperscaler, XYZ, whatever. The next one would be, all right, if we go to the call wall where they are, could we go from 225 to 230? The answer is yes. That's $1. So you literally could take both of these in, this would be a condor. It would be about $2.50. And the upside for the call side would be about 100% return. The upside for the put side would be about 600% return. So that's a clean way to look at it. If you're thinking, okay, I'm not that kind of gunslinger, take me to something longer, you can see 200, same number they're looking at. You can buy the 200, 190 vertical for $3. And where is that wall? The wall here is 220 to 230. That's pretty expensive, but still looking at 100% return if you're staring something down. You could choose one side, you could choose the other side. You could do something totally bananas like sell, well, you could do an iron condor. You could do that. And let's see how much we could get. 260 to 270. Oh, wrong. Plus.
Can we make that a little bigger by chance?
Oh, Let's see. So you could do an iron condor. Listen, iron condors have been my money makers for the last 2 months. I've just kept the spread wide, and granted, you're not making a boatload, but it's nice, consistent money peeling off the edges, 20-30%, and you've got your move. So this one looks pretty good to me in terms of motion. It's got the minimum factor of $2, and you want to cover it when it got to be about $1. But I don't expect savage downsides that continue to roll off. I think we sit in a massive implied volatility flow for most of the summer. Perhaps we grind down, but as you can see from these morning flows, every deep dip has become a buy zone.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there on IBM.
Yeah, and you could actually take both sides of those, and if nothing happened, you'd be
Your
right
connor's
around
going to pay
break
for it.
even. Yeah, you'd be right around break even. If something good happens, you'd be in great shape. And if nothing happens, you're golden because you're flat, which is, risk is really the thing to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, this is a great example of how you can control your risk using options. And
no
I mean,
doubt.
if it's well, you're in the very famous catbird seat, as we've talked about.
There we go, the catbird seat. Okay, so let's see what else we can look at.
We did have a suggestion for Lite, LITE, which is one of those
momentum
optics plays that went on a ridiculous run. So I can absolutely see why this is being requested.
Okay, so here is the floor. Take a look at these levels. The calculation is so simple. It's almost absurd that it actually works. And literally all I'm doing, you can do this yourself, but all I'm doing is taking the daily candlestick formation and I'm doing Fibonacci extensions off of the range of that candle. And that's it. If it breaks the low, notice how noisy this is. Listen, if you've got a monthly VWAP that's sitting sideways, you're going to make money in an iron condor. Easy peasy. Now, this is at 679, but it's really run at quite a clip. And all of these guys and gals that have been really scorching, moving upwards, they are rotating. And that rotation is not trivial. And so my thought is, if you're trying to buy a bounce here, you're going to run into Mark Putrino's very famous remorseful buyers. And they're going to sit up here anywhere between 815 and the monthly VWAP at 753. Now, into earnings, look at what's happened to every single one of them that have been high flyers. They've come in, beat, and the stock faded. Beat, and the stock faded. Sell the bounce. Sell the bounce. So if you're looking for that formation, and this is bouncing here, I would be looking for a short at around 700 and what is up? 750. My platform's possessed. The more, the heavier the compute gets for some of my studies, I see this popping up. I know I know I need a stronger machine. I mean,
you're the study queen, so somebody's got to get you hooked up with like a big time MacBook.
Yeah, I know it. I need to just not be. Sometimes I'm overly frugal. So here's that 752. If we get some kind of bounce, it's great. But I got to tell you, this motion, this kind of bounce action is a place I would be starting to look for a short easily. And so let's take a peek. we'll say, hey, I'm wrong, and we'll see what happens. If I'm wrong and it begins to bounce, the low of that earnings candle is going to be the price action to watch. It's 901. If I'm right, it's going to sit under 752. And if it gets back into a slosh zone, you just, whichever way you chose, if you said, hey, I'm buying it above 752, if it gets to 800, trim some gains. You can clearly see heavy congestion here into the 850 level. Okay, so using what we see happening on the high flyers into earnings, we're watching these come out and rotate back down. Let's take a look. Let's see where the traders are. 11. So let's look at the end of August. Okay, so this is my iron condor. This is the one I have on, right? I took it on about 960. So I'm a little underwater, but I still suspect that it does a pretty good job of holding. The one for September is right around these edges. This one is doing very well for me. Mm-hmm. So let's take a look at the new numbers. So if you say, hey, where are they sitting? 800. All right. The call wall for these guys is here at 800. So we know why. We could see that, right? See this 800? How it's sitting right here? That's why they're here. Could be an overshoot. So I would go under that if I'm doing an iron condor for August. So I would do the 850, 860, and then my brain. 550. Let's see if 550 is in the link. So we got 800 at 660. Yeah, not too many guys and gals sitting there. So we get about half the spread. That's also a really good one. They report on the 11th, so the vol could easily rise into earnings. So you might put this in and say, hey, let me see if I can get it at $6. Price might actually do nothing, but the implied volatility continues to rise. So that's something that you can watch if it goes into that edge. And then if you're the guy or gal that says, you know what, I'm a believer. I think this chart is going to do something really big in the future, and I love it, then, you know, you can go, I wouldn't go to September. That's going to be a crap month. Maybe to December. And where are they? 420 of them at 810. That's interesting. So they've got lower prices ahead for these guys anyway. So you can do 810 to 860. That's $50 wide. And then you can sell the 940 to 990. And that, my friends, is a very cheap iron condor. Excuse me, condor. It gives you $5,000 of upside if it comes into 860, and as long as it does not breach 940, all of that money is yours. Very nicely priced condor. Might you have to leave it in the queue for a while? Yes. But just put it in there, good till cancel. And hey, if you're into it, you could see it come in October. It could make a huge move, could go into $5, and after it gets up over 860, you go, hey, listen, I'm getting out of here. I got my money. So you can get them really cheap down here. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff there on light. We got less than 2 minutes here, so I'm not sure we can set up an entire trade. But if there's anything else that you want to mention or cover, let's do that.
Okay, so the big thing would be the bonds.
Okay.
Right? And so here's what we want to see. Bonds down, yields up. So here the bonds have been down. We just made a higher low. And a lot of people are counting on interest rates to come in. Put yourself an alert on the ZB because this is longer down the curve. Put yourself an alert for, just under this 1.0. Going. Cruncicles.
Did it lock up on you?
It did. I'm just very impatient right now. Look for it under 110. Remember, bonds down, yields up. If yields go up, those small caps are going to continue to suffer. All of the CapEx weight going to suffer. A lot of things could be in significant trouble if these bonds start rolling. And remember, Warsh hasn't come out and said a thing about which way we're moving. The market is pricing this. So take a look. If we have a recovery, we could be in good shape. So look at the area above 112 and realize that this downward flow, every big bounce, is very likely to give us a sell zone, telling us that higher interest rates look like they're going to be in the future.
Okay. All right, Anne-Marie, really good stuff here yet again on Friday. Do me a favor, have yourself a great weekend.
You too.
We'll catch up with you next week. I definitely will. Smoke's clearing out. We're good.
All right.
Take care, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie's departure leaves room for Paulo today. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Paulo, how you doing? Uh-oh.
Hi, Ryan. How are you? Can you hear me successfully?
Yes,
there
I
it is.
can.
Can you
How
hear
are
me?
you?
All right,
Yes.
perfect. Thankfully, all good. I hope we all had a great holiday.
Yes, definitely did. What do you got on deck for us today?
All right, we're going to be checking the charts. We're seeing a potential correction and a bit of rotation out for semiconductors, but it initially doesn't seem a broad market sell-off as there are plenty of stocks actually surviving while breadth continues increasing for the market, which kind of favors a bit. This is just a rotation.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff. Trading Made Simple with Paulo starts right now.
All right.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fits-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I hope we are all having a great week. I hope we all had a great holiday. And let's get started here with our usual market analysis. So to the right here, I have the chat room where I can see all the comments, any questions. So as always, if anyone would like to request any chart, any ticker, any setup, any stock we would like to see, please feel more than welcome and encouraged to do so. Just type the ticker in the chat room, and of course, we can check it out. As always, I do have some trading setups, some favorite picks for the upcoming weeks, for the upcoming month, and we're going to check them out. So let's get started here, and any potential requests, don't forget to type in the chat room. I got them here to the right. Okay, so for today, we're going to be starting with SMH, Semiconductor ETF, all right? Okay, so my headline, my bias right now is that we are seeing a wave 4 correction on semiconductors on SMH, but this is just a correction for this sector, right, within what still remains a bull market. And for the market itself, I think this is a rotation, all right? Big money, smart money is actually taking profit from most of the semiconductor stocks and big tech stocks, which are actually affecting the Nasdaq, but we're seeing other important market sectors actually survive or even continue higher, which lowers the risk of this being a potential important market top or a broad market sell-off or even a market crash. And I do think we're just seeing some rebalancing and rotation within the market. Let's start here with the SMH. All right, so semiconductor stocks appear to be on a wave 4 correction. As usual, we have the typical behavior on the RSI indicator, and we can see it here, for example, that when we start a 5-wave Elliott wave structure, usually we go from oversold into overbought for wave 1. Wave 2 goes back into equilibrium. Wave 3 has the highest point on the indicator. Wave 4 goes all the way back to equilibrium, and wave 5, as usual, has the bearish divergence on a higher high on the Elliott wave structure, but we have a lower high on the RSI in the weekly time frame, which indicates that we are losing momentum and the Elliott wave structure is about to be over. Then we had the ABC correction, and once again with the RSI indicator on oversold, we started here a potential new Elliott wave cycle. I see we have some requests there. We're going to check them all. Absolutely. So thank you for the interest on the request. So brand new Elliott wave cycle, right? We started here in this point, and there are important signals that tell us that this is the correct point to start. First, we have the Elliott wave, the RSI weekly oversold. We also got the big bullish crossover on the weekly MACD, and we also have here the huge volume bar spike, indicating this was a capitulation here for investors, for traders, and that this would be actually a good starting point for our Elliott wave structure. So usually wave 1 goes from oversold into overbought, right? Wave 2 goes back into equilibrium, and here we actually have a flat correction. This is called the running flat correction. It's one drop, a higher high, and a slightly higher low too. So it's a 3-wave flat correction, we can call it, which brings the indicator back to equilibrium, and then we have wave 3. All right, wave 3, as usual, has the highest point on the RSI indicator, and now we're actually dropping. So we already dropped to the, when we are seeing Elliott wave corrections, there's 2 potential target zones applying Fibonacci retracement. First is the small correction, which usually bottoms around the 0.236, 0.382. This is the first small correction, the Fibonacci retracement of 0.2, 0.3. Then we have the bigger correction, which goes to the 0.618 to the 0.786, which would be the bigger correction. So how can we know if we're going for the small correction or the big correction? Fortunately, we don't know. We can just follow it day by day, price by price, session by session. So how I personally view it is, if we start breaking below the 0.382 with conviction, with falling momentum, right? If we start breaking below here, then my bias favors that we are going for the bigger correction, which would be the 0.6, 0.7. So I do think this is a wave 4 correction for SMH. I do not know if we're going to bottom in this range, which goes from 550 to 600. We are already on the potential bottom of the small range, the bottom of the range, right, at 550. So if we actually start breaking below 550, that's going to look like we're dropping to 480. All right, I still think that this is just a wave 4 correction, and that we're going to see brand new all-time highs for SMH, for semiconductors as a sector. But if those brand new all-time highs for the sector brings us a bearish divergence on the RSI, I would understand that we are here. So right now we are somewhere around here on the cycle. I do think we're still going to have a recovery rally, but I would personally be looking to exit potential longs in semiconductor stocks. If we make all-time highs with a bearish divergence, I think that would be telling us that this cycle has finished. All right, when we actually go into the Nasdaq, we see a similar setup. We see wave 1 going from oversold to overbought. Wave 2 goes back to equilibrium. Wave 3 has the highest point on the indicator. And Nasdaq is also going through a correction. We already reached the 0.2 Fibonacci retracement. So this correction range goes from 27,700 to 28,900. We're right in between that range. So if we start breaking below 20,700, I would be looking maybe for 26,200 or even maybe the 0.6, which would be somewhere here. All right, so it also does seem a potential wave 4 developing for Nasdaq. So if we actually recover, which I do think we're going to see all-time highs in the Nasdaq this year, and we have a bearish divergence, that's also going to be telling me it might be time to start potentially getting out of the markets. On the Dow here, we're seeing actually a breakout. One second, for some reason my chart is not loading. There we go. So we have a breakout for the Dow. We're actually breaking outside of the channel. We got expanding bands. We have still the MACD as bullish, and we actually broke out on the RSI. So for the Dow, it seems we are like maybe 3-4 weeks behind tech, because this still appears a wave 3. So I do think the Dow will maybe continue a bit higher. We're still seeing strength actually in industrials, weakness in tech. Since we started this pullback in the markets, I think it has been a month, we are chopping around. So the Dow could still climb a bit more, maybe then correct, but this still looks like we're still developing the wave 3 for the Dow. Then for the S&P 500, it also looks like this is already a wave 3 as usual. Wave 1 into overbought, from oversold to overbought. Wave 2 back to equilibrium. Wave 3 has the highest point on the indicator. We already reached the 0.2, so this could already be a wave 4. Maybe we could even drop to 7,100 if we go all the way back to 0.382. If we want to find a potential exact bottom, we would have to go a bit into the 4 hours. From the macro perspective, this does look like we are correcting a wave 4, even though we could have already kind of bottomed it maybe on this low here that happened some weeks ago, even though we could also go to 7,200. My point is, this seems a correction for the S&P 500. I think maybe kind of favors a bit more of a drop, so wave 4 can go back to equilibrium, but I do think we're going to recover and break higher in the S&P 500, and that will bring us the bearish divergence. Now, where do I think we're going to see the strength? As the indices kind of look like we might have a final wave 5 rally in this current yield wave structure, there is actually strength in small caps. All right, we're seeing here IWM, it's still on a wave 3. Wave 1 goes into from oversold into overbought. Wave 2 here has the flat correction back into equilibrium on the RSI, and this does seem a wave 3. Also, what I do like is that this does look like a stage 1 accumulation. We also got a double bottom, and we're breaking out of a consolidation range. It's been like 4 years here. So I do think small caps are actually going to continue higher. Maybe this is already the top on wave 3. We already reached the 0.618. Small caps are actually not seeing much of the sell-off we are seeing. And another sector, I call it a sector even though it's an ETF, it's RKK. All right. I know what are the thoughts and feelings. RKK has completely missed the previous bull market, but I kind of use it as an indicator for high growth speculative stocks. All right, as RKK represents all those high risk speculation stocks, and usually in bull markets, on the latest stages of bull markets, we actually see small caps, high growth speculative assets outperforming more defensive sectors. So it makes completely sense to think that if the Nasdaq, if the Dow, if the S&P 500 are going for the final wave 5, in that wave 5 we could see potential strength on small caps, on risky stocks. So for RKK here, I think this is a wave 1. There's a potential inverse head and shoulders here. Why? My biggest argument for a bullish breakout and a strong rally for RKK would be that we got a stage 1 accumulation with very high volume profile. The volume profile is right here, and seeing what price did after we actually consolidated for 3 years here, it looks like we're really building the base for a breakout in RKK. What stocks would benefit from that? Biggest position for RKK is Tesla, but also RKK has big exposure to genomics, yes, also to fintech, and all those small speculative high growth stocks. So I do think if the market maybe has, just for dropping a time frame, even though I don't like to do timing, maybe if we have 6 more months of bull market for the wave 5, I do think we're going to see strength in those sectors. Now let me go with my 2 favorite. Well, first let me cover Marvell, and then let me go for my 2 favorite stock picks. So keeping in mind that semiconductor stocks appear to be on a wave 4. That's what we got for Marvell. We had the wave 1, the wave 2 back into equilibrium. Wave 3 has the highest point on the indicator, and this seems to be a wave 4 correction. Now, I might be wrong too, because what I don't like about the Marvell chart is the high record volume on the 52-week highs, basically on all-time highs. So those volume bars usually signal strong reversals in the market. So this does look a bit like buyer's climax. Wave 3, highest point on the indicator, and we actually already went for Marvell to the deep correction. We're basically on the 0.6 Fibonacci retracement, all right? So I do think Marvell could be bottoming here around the 170, and I do think Marvell will do an all-time high, and I would be looking to exit my position on a potential new high. I think that will definitely have a bullish divergence, because I don't think we can go higher than this RSI we made on what still seems a potential wave 3, even though I could be wrong. Because the buyer's climax here on this strong volume bars could be telling us maybe we already topped for Marvell. But I think that seeing all the other semiconductor stocks and SMH, this would still be a wave 4 correction. Another thing I like for the potential wave 4 correction scenario is that wave 2 was a flat correction. And that is the alternation principle in yield wave theory. What the alternation principle, the alternation theory mentions is that if wave 2 is a sideways correction, wave 4 should be a sharp correction. If wave 2 is a sharp correction, wave 4 should be a sideways correction. Wave 2 was a sideways correction. Wave 4, it's a super falling knife here. This is a sharp correction. My personal bias, this is just my personal opinion, is Marvell will bounce. It will make a brand new all-time high, and I will get out of my position by then. I have 2 of my favorites. Oh, and another thing before we actually get out of Marvell is that, and let me see, last time I saw it, last week, we still had insider buying. We still got it. We got almost 2 million purchases here against 250,000 sales. That represents 38% of total insider shares held. So we're not seeing, of course, this updates, right? So they could have already sold here, but we're still not seeing insider selling. Actually, insider data still favors buys. So I think we are going to make a brand new all-time high, but then I would personally be looking to get out. My favorite stocks right now, ServiceNow. Absolutely ServiceNow. Software stocks have actually survived this week's sell-off. If we go into the 4 hours chart, we're going to be able to see how they actually didn't drop overnight. Actually, some of the software stocks actually had a gap up in this pre-market, showing relative strength compared to the benchmark, which would be the market. For ServiceNow, there's plenty bullish signals. We don't even have to look at the fundamentals for ServiceNow. They are very good. They're very good. What I do like is insider buying activity. Insider activity, last 6 months, we have 500,000 buys against 45,000 sales. That represents 40% of the net shares purchased, insider shares held. So insiders are massively buying here ServiceNow on what appears a bit an inverse head and shoulders reversal. We had super strong volume here. Look at all these volume bars. On that would be sellers capitulation. This big here, boom, capitulation. This one here, again, a volume bar. This one here, again, a volume bar. This is telling me investors are actually panic selling here, service now. On these lows, we have massive volume. We have a breakout on the RSI. We got a bullish divergence too. We can see how this low against this low, it's a higher low on the RSI indicator. And then we even broke out. So we're breaking out from the resistance trend line from the RSI weekly that goes all the way to all-time highs, which is a pretty bullish signal. We're having a breakout in momentum. Usually momentum precedes price. So I do think we also have the bullish MACD crossover. It's not even damaged by this sell-off. So momentum is very, very, very strong for service now. It's very strong. And I do think we are starting a new Elliott wave structure here. We're just starting an Elliott wave 1. I would call service now, right now, my favorite setup to buy, right? Marvell, I would call it a hold. And in maybe some weeks, I would start maybe calling it a sell if we recover. I would rate Marvell a sell if we break into new all-time highs. Right now, I would rate it a hold. But service now, I would call it a buy. I actually have this position, and I'm actually thinking of increasing it. It's my favorite position here. It has the fundamentals. It has the insider activity. It has the momentum indicators. It has the price action. There could also be the possibility my Elliott wave count could be incorrect. I got 5 waves lower, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might be wrong. We could still do a lower low and it would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That could still happen. It's hard to read the correction patterns. You don't realize them until they're fully drawn. But if we make a lower low that will bring us a bullish divergence on the RSI, that would be a great buying opportunity. And my second favorite stock pick would be Salesforce. Let me check the insider activity too for Salesforce. I'm not sure if it is as strong as service now, and I don't know what I'm about to see. If it got updated, no, unfortunately, we don't have information. This is Salesforce, right? They're not giving us the information. Fundamentals are strong, a little bit less growth than service now. But what I do like is all this is a bullish divergence on the weekly time frame. That's strong. We're breaking down. We went for lower lows on rising momentum. We have a bullish MACD crossover. We got big volume bars as capitulation. We have not yet broken out on momentum, but I would think Salesforce is also a very strong pick here. So we got 10 more minutes, and let's go here with our requests. Let's see here. Where do we, which one we started? I think we started with GLW, right? All right, I think we started with GLW. Let's give it a check here. Ooh, oh my God. Someone had actually requested this one some time ago because we had this Elliott wave structure. I think it was here. Someone requested it. So we went much higher than the price target, but I would say this is absolutely the wave 5. I would say this is the wave 5. This would be the wave 3. Wave 3 would actually be here. Now we can update it now that it has been fully drawn, I would say. Because of the indicator, this is clear. So wave 1 started here. Wave 1, wave 2 back into equilibrium. Wave 3 had the highest point on the indicator. Wave 4 didn't reach equilibrium. And then wave 5, we see 3 consecutive higher highs with the bearish divergence. Why I do think we also topped here for this stock is because we have the strong sellers, buyers climax. No, this is not record volume, but it's big volume. I mean, the biggest volume since 2002 or even more. On this candlestick, we had a massive reversal. I would say institutional money, smart money sold it here to retail. We see this big volume spike. Then we had the reversal. We dropped lower. We had a bearish MACD crossover. I would be bearish in this stock. It seems weird. I'm not sure if I would be shorting it here. For a trade setup, I would have to go into the 4 hours. But I do think we just started an Elliott wave correction. And this is the top for GE. For Corning Incorporated, ticker GLW. I personally think we already topped here. All right. Let's go here, MAMKR. Is this semiconductor? Is this, I don't know this ticker. Would this one be a semiconductor stock? Interesting. Here I would be viewing a potential wave 4. I think this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though the highest point on the indicator is wave 1. What I do think it's clear is we started an elite wave count here. Oversold indicator, bullish MACD crossover on the weekly. Huge correction, bringing us back years in price. So I would say it's safe to say we start an elite wave here. Yes, sort of semiconductor. It has kind of the same shape as SMH. So they do packaging. Thank you. So I do think this is a wave 4. I do think this is a wave 4. And let me see, where are we? So if this is the wave 2 bottom, we are on the 0.6 here. So we actually already went for the big correction. So I would be looking for a potential bottom on 60 or even 50. And this is also previous highs. There could be a bottom here for this stock. We could also drop to 50, but I think this is already looking like this is a wave 4. So I would call it a hold. For trade, maybe a buy. Forget about the price target for wave 5. For that, we would need Fibonacci projection. But I do think this looks a bit like this. I think the stock is closer to a bottom. I would call it a hold. But I wouldn't be buying it for long term, because as soon as we go for wave 5, it would already start looking like a sale. We also have a request for ASTS. Absolutely. We got time, 5 minutes. Yes, I think we can do 2 or 3. And also FN. Sorry, I missed. Okay. Whoa. Nice. This one was also requested here because we already had the elite wave structure, and it looks like our elite wave structure was also correct. We had our wave 1, we have wave 2, we had our wave 3, but in this case, wave 1 has the highest point on the indicator. Still, this was all a bearish divergence. We can see how we went lower with falling momentum, and we had the buyer's climax. No, this is a bit of seller's climax. A bit of sell. Well, we got a double top here. That's not good. We got a double top and we're breaking down, confirming that correction. So that's not good for bulls. But a bottom would be closer. Well, not sure, to be honest, because if we already corrected as a wave, as a completed cycle, yeah. Maybe it could face more weak. No, the double top looks bad. Yes. No, I'm sorry. I would be bearish. It's a double top on what seems a 5-point correction, and we're breaking down on the weekly RSI. It does seem this stock will actually go to oversold on the RSI. So I would say much more weakness ahead for Space Mobile, for AST Space Mobile. All right. We also have here a request for FN. We can absolutely see it. We can absolutely check it out. Ooh. Now, this one is a bit more difficult, which would be the elite wave structure. I don't see it clear. I don't see the elite wave structure clear. Maybe this would be 1, 2, 3 with the highest point, 4, 5, and then we correct it. So this would be starting here. But it's not that clear. Where did the big volume came? Almost on the lows. This one is a bit more difficult. This one is a bit more difficult. Seems a distribution. This seems a distribution. I think some weakness, more weakness ahead, because the weekly RSI, even besides, we are bearish. The histogram is falling. So we're falling with increasing downside momentum. So that kind of looks like we're still going lower. I don't have the clear structure here for Elliott wave. It's not that clear, but I would think we still have more weakness ahead. I think we can do one more. Let me see here. Let's see. All right, and we have here Ed Edwards requested IWM. We already checked it, but we can quickly see it here. So for IWM, it does appear we're in a wave 3. All right, we have not seen actually anything, much weakness compared to semiconductors. We're actually holding in what still seems here a nice wave 3. I do think IWM would be outperforming the markets. I also wanted to check the insider activity, all right, for these stocks we just went through. So for example, for ASTS, let's see what insiders have been doing, and we're going to close by checking our insider activity. Come on, quickly. Nope, we got 600,000 purchases against 3 million sales. That represents 10% of the total insider shares held. I wouldn't say it's huge, but we have insiders sold it. See? So that confirms ASTS has seen a top, I would say. We have insider selling, all right? We got insider selling on breaking down momentum, on big volume bars at 52 weeks highs, on what seems a state, a 5-wave structure, Elliott wave completed. And the only other one I wanted to check before we actually finish, it was, where is it? AMKR. That's the other one I wanted to check the insider activity. And that would be all for today, AMKR. We got 13% of total insider shares held. We got chases against 20 million sales. They're kind of selling it a bit. All right, so that will be all for today. I hope this was a nice session. As a quick recap, we're seeing most of it a correction here on semiconductors. I do think semiconductor stocks are actually on a wave 4 correction, but we are still going to see brand new all-time highs on the big 3 indices, on IWM, on speculative stocks, and also on semiconductors. Sectors I do think are going to outperform the market. The upcoming weeks are going to be software stocks, fintech, and genomics and biotech. My 2 favorite stock picks for the upcoming weeks would be software stocks, especially I would say ServiceNow, I would say Salesforce, even Adobe, maybe even Team. I would rate semiconductor stocks as a whole, but if we start breaking above, if we start making brand new all-time highs with bearish divergence on the RSI, I would be closing or reducing exposure to semiconductor stocks. I would like to thank everyone for your participation, your attendance. I hope this was a nice session. I would also like to thank everyone at Benzinga, at Ryan, at Aaron, and at everyone. If you would like to see more about our work at Trading Made Simple, you are always invited to visit our website, tradingmadesimple.org. We got live trading sessions. We have a Discord server, trade alerts, and plenty other important features to always try to be on the right side of the trade. Thank you, everyone, and see you in a couple of weeks. Goodbye, and thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.